YouTube. People in the chat already complaining. Alright, so we're now live, and I'm going to start this, actually. Let me get it on screen. I'm going to start this commentary. Let me first log out. And I'm going to shill my Subscribestar account because for whatever reason, I've had a couple people message me and say that they're unsubscribing because I haven't been uploading. And I'm like, what the fuck have you been talking about? I've been uploading recently more than I have in like the past few months. So I don't really get people going like, oh, you haven't been uploading. I've been like, what? Are you fucking serious? So yeah, I'm gonna shill my Subscribestar. Go over to Subscribestar. Go sign up. If you don't have an account, go make an account because there's plenty of other YouTubers already over there that you can subscribe to. Follow me on Subscribestar. Sign up, and you can pay me monthly as little as $1, all the way up to $50 a month. That's where I top out. But go over there right now if you aren't already. If you stopped, restart. Because I am dissatisfied with the people in the last month that have stopped following me and have cited that I haven't been uploading. I'm like, what the fuck? I have been. Give me a break. So I'm going to shill that right at the beginning of this because it's becoming disconcerting to me. We only have so many articles to get to in this, and I plan on allowing you to use up the remainder of the time at the end. I was planning on actually potentially doing a video at the end of this, or I go into a different subject, but I decided against it at the last minute. So I'm going to hold off on doing that video, because there's actually a lot to it. And the topic is the Hallmark Channel. They dumped, rejected several adverts, and there's a small controversy around it. And then all of a sudden, they basically backed down and apologized after 24 hours, even though for 24 hours they didn't back down, and that's when the controversy happened. It was after the controversy that they backed down. I have a conspiracy theory about what happened, and it's not much of a conspiracy theory as it is just a theory that's pretty likely. But yeah, so we only have so many articles here today, and some of this is recent, some of it isn't. But I guess we'll start with one of the older stories that I can talk about, which is Trump switching his residency from New York, which, you know, he's lived in New York as far as I can tell his whole life, to Florida. And this isn't just him being, you know, the king of boomers and, you know, like all boomers moving to Florida. This is him leaving New York. And if you are from New York, you would probably be aware that our population outside of immigrants has been declining. And has been declining over time for decades, longer than I've been alive. But specifically, in the last 15 years, it's really started again to decline, despite, you know, recession, better economy. It doesn't really matter. It's just been on the decline. And it is because this state is, in essence, a one-party state like California. And those that govern here are pretty much, at this point, just toadies of our governor, who's Andrew Cuomo. And Andrew Cuomo, when he came into office, there was a budget surplus. He destroyed that surplus, and pretty much since then, it has been nothing but banning this, banning that, more gun control, and there's apparently more gun control on the horizon. And in terms of businesses, there's been nothing really in a positive direction outside of that of the state itself spending billions of dollars, not just tax credits, spending billions of dollars to get companies to come here so they can tax them into oblivion eventually. This is a tax and spend state where a disproportionate amount of our money is either going to graft, meaning contractors that have, direct connections to those in office, or to fucking junkies and voting farms that you'll find in places like Rochester, Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Syracuse, and other urban centers in New York State. Albany, New York City obviously being the biggest. That I would say is probably a good portion and a decent proportion of the New York State budget. Voting farms. Pumping billions of dollars into housing projects, free licenses for illegals, and a litany of other public works programs that are specifically designed to attract stupid, consistent voters that will vote for Gibbs and will vote for Cuomo and will vote for Democrats until the day they fucking die because they have a direct financial interest in doing so. Like if you were a Republican that, let's say you're a Republican who owns a farm and you're a Chamber of Commerce style Republican and you vote for open borders. Obviously, it's because you want illegals and legals to pick your fruit and so on. But if you are really just any kind of Midwestern Republican, sane Republican, more traditional Republican, even in the Bible-thumping kind of way, there is no real place for you in New York. Unfortunately, despite how much of New York is rural and is just blood red, it doesn't really matter because the urban centers are utterly controlled by cynical politicians and gibbers. And gibbers can be a variety of skin colors, just to be clear, Susan Wojcicki. But a gibber is someone that votes for a government that is going to just give them shit. It's going to give them other people's property or money. And the fact is that there can be a fair amount of redistribution. There can be. But the fact is that if there's any, two examples that you can cite, the examples of a failed redistributive system are that of California and New York. They are failed systems. They suck. And the reason they suck is because parasites move in and hardworking people move out. Producers and productive people move out. Trump is a billionaire. He's the president of the fucking country. He is, even with all of his, committing adultery and all of his negative sides, the negative aspects to him as a person. It's an embarrassment. It is a national and international embarrassment for New York to lose a lifelong resident and now the president of the fucking United States. This is an embarrassment. And unfortunately, what happened as a direct result of this, Andrew Cuomo, when asked for asked for comment, I should say, on Trump leaving, switching his residency to Florida, he said, good riddance. And doesn't that just encompass New York politics? Doesn't that just encompass the New York Democratic Party? The guy is not only the president of the United States, he's a billionaire business mogul. How ethical he is, you can debate. But he's still a billionaire mogul. And the president. When I went to New York City, one of the first places I went to, when I was in Manhattan, was Trump Tower. And I wasn't even a Trump fan then. And I don't know, I would say to some degree I like Trump, but I wasn't then willing to vote for him. I went to Trump Tower, I bought a MAGA hat. That's one of the first fucking things I did in New York. I walked across Manhattan, blocks of, the nightmare land that is New York. I'm only exaggerating somewhat. I went to Trump Tower, I bought a MAGA hat, an official MAGA hat. This is someone we should not be losing. This is someone that you shouldn't be wishing ill of and telling good riddance, get the fuck out of the state. Because Andrew Cuomo prior to 2016, I guarantee you he was on his knees sucking Donald Trump's dick for campaign funding. I guarantee you Andrew Cuomo was an official, because Hillary Clinton was. Hillary Clinton was a dick sucker of Donald Trump for money. And if she's on her knees sucking his dick, so is he. Because that's what I know about New York fucking politics, is that it doesn't matter what your affiliation is. If you're a Democrat in this state, you are sucking dick for money. Hillary Clinton is the archetype of this. And Cuomo is in her shadow. So if she did it, he did it too. For him to turn around as people are leaving this state in numbers that are not all that dissimilar to that of California. California being much worse, but still, the numbers are equitable in some ways. Still a net reduction in the state, other than immigrants coming into the state, overrunning it because of Gibbs. This is an embarrassment, and you should not be telling him good riddance, because that is just you as the ultimate symbol of what is wrong with New York. What is wrong with this state? People are leaving in droves. You say, good, get the fuck out. When these are the people that you are reliant on your tax base. Like, not that long ago, I talked about an article where Cuomo was basically sweating bullets over the fact that all the rich people were moving out of New York. All the rich people are leaving the state, and there goes your fucking tax base. So how are you going to gin up your fucking voting farms there, Andy? How are you going to keep the gibbers in line if the people you're taxing to give them shit are leaving the state in droves? So yeah, this state, I swear to God, man, every year that goes by, it just gets worse. This state just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's following California. Like, I would not be surprised if eventually we have people in our towns, in our cities, shitting on the street, shooting up heroin and just laying there. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be us soon, considering the direction we're heading in. It's so embarrassing because, like I say, outside of like small counties, Erie County, whatever the fuck, Orleans, whatever fucking Rochester's in, Syracuse, Albany, New York City, outside of a handful of counties, this state is fucking blood red. But we have enough gibbers to just decide every fucking election. However, I will say, New York Republicans have always been, in my lifetime, they've been generally terrible. Not since, what was his name? Let me look up the governor that we had. The only Spitzer, I don't think Spitzer was that bad as a Democratic governor. I remember him. If he wouldn't have had his sex scandal, he wouldn't have been that bad as a governor, because he was like a pragmatic Democrat, and I appreciate that. That he's dead now. I mean, his brand of Democratic politics in the state is dead too, so let me see here. I'd have to look it up. I can't find it offhand. But we had a Republican governor when I was young, and he really wasn't that bad. He was pretty moderate, if I remember correctly, which I think all New York Republicans have to be. But the problem is that, like, all the ones they pick are either nobodies, like random guys they just find in the middle of New York, like nobodies, or your average downstate Republican who is like Chamber of Commerce, internationalist, globalist, barely fucking right wing, and will screech endlessly about the family as he's banging his mistress on the side. It's one of the things I cannot stand about New York Republicans, is that in my lifetime, they have all been fucking hypocrites in some way or another. They're all internationalists. They're all, like, libertarian-esque, but they're kind of just neoliberals. They lean left on a whole litany of things in just in terrible ways. And Pataki, thank you, chat. Is it George Pataki? I barely recall his governorship, but I don't remember it being that bad. But in any case, yeah, that's enough about local politics. Oh, speaking of this was a funny article from August that I saved and haven't gotten to because I haven't done a newscast in a long time. This keeps happening, where the truth comes out, and I've already said, and this is the reason I say this is because, like, to me, this doesn't make any sense. This must be a bubble, because I don't get it. Like, Democratic representative from New Jersey, Tom Minowski, says we need illegal immigrants to mow our beautiful lawns. So it's just a general of, well, the whites aren't going, and the blacks ultimately aren't going to be willing to take these jobs. Therefore, we need the Mexicans to overrun our country to do these jobs. And the fact is that, like I say, in my area, I don't know any Hispanic landscapers. I know a shitload of landscapers. My father knows a shitload of landscapers. I don't know any Hispanic landscapers. None. They're all either, like, a couple are black, the rest are white. They're all, other than a couple blacks, are working class whites. All of them. So when these people say, well, we need landscapers that are Mexican, you know, it's bullshit. That is a lie. It is an outright lie. If you don't have the Mexicans to do your lawn, you'll have whites. You'll just have to pay them a little bit more. Just a little bit more. They're still making near minimum wage. They're all in their mid, late teens, early 20s. Every landscaper that I've come in contact with is either in their 40s and they look like rough leather, like they look like a leather couch, because that's what they do for a living, and they have for a very long time, or they're very young. The nature of the market is that, if jobs need doing, then the working class is going to do them. Don't give me this bullshit about, oh, we can't find people. That's a fucking lie. You're a massive company, most likely, that doesn't want to pay a decent wage. And so you want to import the third world to work at starvation wages, poverty wages, so that you can make more money. And you use your connections to politics and politicians to get those people into this country. I've seen Byron Brown, who's the mayor of Buffalo, talk about the immigrant population there, and he's constantly kissing up to it, even though it's horrible in large part. The Puerto Ricans in Buffalo are horrible. Sorry. Hashtag not all. And the Muslims in Buffalo are terrible. Hashtag perhaps all. I've run into far too many at this point, and they're insufferable, regardless of which demographic I'm talking about. And they're unnecessary. That's the thing that he would say. Byron Brown says, oh, well, we need the gibbers. We need these people in our country. Because if we don't have the gibbers, then who's going to do all this work that we need doing in Buffalo? And the answer is working class white and black men. That's who. That's who's going to do the jobs. It's always been the case. It will always be the case until the demographics change to such an extent that just naturally that changes. But I want to be, like I say, very clear in this. This is a lie. This is false. This is a factually incorrect statement. So if anyone ever gives this shit to you, if anyone ever says we need legal or illegal immigrants to do landscaping, I am here to tell you that in my lifetime, this has always been false. This might be true in fucking California. This is not true in upstate New York. And it has never been true. Until we get overrun with Mexicans, maybe eventually it will be true. But as of now, it is factually incorrect to believe this. And if anyone says otherwise, they are wrong. Let's see here. Speaking of perhaps all, hashtag perhaps all, when people ask me someone asked in the chat which countries are the Muslims. I was about to say Islamists. The Muslims from in Buffalo. As far as I can tell, it's Asian in general, which pretty much speaks to all the Muslim majority nations. But it's a hodgepodge of like Middle Eastern and black Muslims. Like, not African Americans, but black Muslims. So, like, North Africans, I would say. I don't know if they're, like, Tunisians or whatever. I don't really know. But I've already done surveillance on a bunch of Muslims in Buffalo. And a decent proportion of them have been black. And they're not converts. They're foreign. Or New American, as the politically correct would say. I don't know why these... Let's go to this one that timed out. What's going on here? Oh yeah, this is an older article from November. This was back when the Groyper War was really kicking off, and the Groypers were winning, and that pretty much has died off. I haven't really seen anything since. I'm trying to remember which event it was. It was after the Dan Crenshaw thing, but it didn't last for much longer past this. And I'm not saying they can't come back, but as of right now, the Groyper War has kind of died off. And I would say to the people in British politics, we're going to get to the British politics in this in a second here. Maybe I'll leapfrog off of this onto that. But if I were to give any advice to people who are right-leaning in British politics, you need to have your own Groyper War with the Conservative Party. Because fucking Boris Johnson doesn't seem like a bad guy, but he does seem like a cosmopolitan conservative. Like, the second he took office, in his first speech to Parliament, which I listened to, he was already kissing up to, like, diversity is our strength and all this shit. It's like, I would say to British conservatives and people who lean right in Britain, you need to have your own Groyper War. And you need to start holding the Conservative Party to account in what way are they actually conservative. And I don't mean like weird fucking Byzantine esoteric cultural shit like we need to re-legalize fox hunting or some shit where we have our bloodhounds maul foxes or some crazy shit like that. I mean like stop pushing communist shit in your education system. Maybe start there. And I know that it's not exactly something that here in the United States I can talk much shit about, because here in the United States it's been a long-standing issue, and the right to this day has done absolutely nothing to deal with the issue. And it seems like every mainstream conservative pundit that I've listened to, even like the people that people generally criticize, like Ben Shapiro and others, they talk themselves until they're blue in the face about this issue, and yet absolutely nothing is happening as it relates to dealing with the education system in the United States. Absolutely nothing. But in any case, I thought I would mention this article because with people like Dan Crenshaw and others, there's a specific reason why the Groypers were so effective. And it was because people like Dan Crenshaw are lazy and they're overly reliant on status symbols and their appearance. So Dan Crenshaw was injured serving, I think, was it Afghanistan? I'm pretty sure it was the Middle Eastern campaign, but I forget which campaign, whatever the fuck it is for Afghanistan and whatever it is for Iraq. And I mean, it could have been all the ones. Who knows? He could have been in Somalia for all I know. But he was injured. He has the appearance and the media girding of a war hero. And he's also fairly attractive. He's tall, as far as I recall his height, and he's well put together, fairly clean cut, except for his kind of scratchy beard. But he has everything going for him in terms of his appearance, but intellectually, he's probably on the same level that I am. And I'm not trying to puff myself up. I'm not trying to bring him down. But I am saying that he is an everyman. He is the average man when it comes to political know-how and the actual means by which of justifying what you believe. I'm only so articulate. I'm only so capable in explaining to you what I believe and why. And I think that Dan Crenshaw, despite being this massive war hero, genius, 4D chess fucking representative, I really don't think that he is all that intelligent. I think he's pretty average in terms of his cunning, in terms of his savvy. And he was completely blindsided by the Groypers. So that is why I think that at first the Groypers were so effective, is because he was overly reliant on his media status and the shielding that comes from that, his appearance of that as this stoic, maverick war hero, such as it was with John McCain. And with him, I don't think he has actually thought through a considerable amount of his positions. I just think that he goes along to get along. He just posits what he thinks to be popular, and that is at least conservative enough that it will keep most people off his back in challenging his beliefs and his bona fides as a conservative and Republican. When confronted, he struggles to actually defend himself. Whereas somebody like Ben Shapiro, even though he does struggle to justify his positions, it's not because he's inarticulate. He is articulate, but it's because he's inconsistent. Hopefully you can follow with what I'm saying here. Ben Shapiro is inconsistent. That's his greatest downside. He's reactionary in terms of if somebody says something on Twitter, he'll just fall for it. Like, Trump said this. Oh, I can't believe Trump said this. And I disavow. He's done this at least 4 or 5 times where later on it's been revealed that the story itself was bullshit, and he just has egg in his face. This has happened time after time after time. He's also flipped numerous times to extreme different positions where diversity and open borders is a good thing, but Israel needs to be an ethno-state. He's basically had to turn his back on his previous position of an extreme position that it's morally good for Israel to be an ethno-state. And he said it as directly as I'm saying it now. That is an extreme position to take and to walk back from. While also, it's as people would laugh about, to say that America needs to be like an open borders, multicultural wonderland, and that there's no real downsides to having mass immigration. And I know that he would throw up a million fronts, as would Charlie Kirk, but unlike Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro hasn't actually addressed the underlying principles and philosophy for what has actually forced him to change his mind on certain positions. He has in some small ways with certain smaller, more insignificant opinions of his, but when it comes to the big ones, the radical shifts, he's never really addressed them as far as I can tell. With Charlie Kirk, however, he has. Charlie Kirk is basically, unlike Dan Crenshaw and others, Charlie Kirk as of now has been beaten into submission. Outside of, I think, one instance where he stood up to some Groyper in the audience. That was like right at the tail end of the Groyper War. He stood up to some person in the audience. But I didn't save the article, but Charlie Kirk wrote an article for some outlet where he basically backed down on every single position when it comes to immigration and laid out basically how the Groypers are right about everything. But yeah, we could probably move. Let's see, what was the leapfrog? Yeah, so we'll move from that to this. James Delingpole is a writer for Breitbart, and every once in a while he writes a good article. Not that I'm saying his other articles are bad, but he writes a salient article. So this happened right after the election results. I believe so. Yes. This happened right after. And Delingpole, like me, goes right to the heart of the matter. That when it comes to the university system in the UK, compared to conservatism, they are on a ticking clock to a matter of numbers. The government is propping up the university system in the entire West. Tuition costs have skyrocketed out of control. The population sizes and admission rates of universities are something of that of small cities. Like at University at Buffalo, it was at some point as low as like 9,000. And now it's something like 15,000 a year. 15,000 students. There are rows and rows, blocks and blocks, street after street of student housing. I've investigated people in it. It is staggering the boom town that has sprung up around University at Buffalo to accommodate 15,000 students. And what these universities are churning out are resentful, overly educated, manipulated, and sad, miserable activists. They are not producing productive and happy people, at least not ones that are staying in this country. Maybe they're shipping them back to China or wherever. But the university system in the UK is much like the college system here in the United States in that this is a ticking clock. This is an out-of-control system that is being propped up by the state, and the direct result is tens and tens of thousands of activists being produced every goddamn semester that are being poured into the country that are actively campaigning for fucking communism. We, those of us, whether it's the right or just generally those who are sane, we must address this. This is one of the most pressing issues. You can say listening to this, maybe it's immigration or whatever it is in your own mind, whatever the most pressing issue is. I am telling you factually, this is one of the most pressing issues in the top 5, if not in the top 3, if you are on the right. If you consider yourself to be a Christian, a conservative, a Republican, anything that's right-leaning, anything that respects tradition, republicanism in terms of the state, if you have any regard for the liberal West, or the West in general, or of Christianity, you need to understand that this is one of your most pressing concerns, whether you know it or not. The college system in the West is churning out atheistic communists. And it's not the Christopher Hitchens kind of Trotsky, turned Republican kind of communist. No, these are empty-headed, overly educated, indoctrinated fucking zombies that turn into baristas or wage slaves that hate fucking everything, that are miserable, that are defective men that think they're women, that are defective women that think they're men, that want to tear the entire goddamn world down. Every year it gets worse, and if we don't fix this, if we don't address the entire fucking system of universities, of college education, higher education, if we don't take this entire system on, it will eventually result in too many people that are lunatic communists that overrun the goddamn system. Okay? This must be addressed. Yes, there you go in the chat. Hitchens was a Trotskyite turned neocon. I would say that's pretty accurate. So yes, as always, as James here has said wisely, I'm saying once again to the Brits or the Americans, and I'm going to be saying this in the run-up to the election, like if Trump comes to, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Williamsville, Amherst, somewhere around here, okay, somewhere around where I live, he goes to Lockport, he goes somewhere where he does a speech, I want to hear a fucking answer on this. What the fuck is the Republican Party? What are American conservatives? What are we going to do about this fact? This worsening issue, this direct threat to the continuation of the United States, if you're right-wing, to right-wing politics, to conservatism, to traditionalism, to Christianity, this is a fucking categorical, existential threat. What are you going to do to address it? This is on a systemic national level. What are you going to do? What? Because Republicans, conservatives, nationwide have failed to do anything about this. At all. Whatsoever. They have failed. They have done nothing. This is a worsening problem. This is one of the top 5, if not the top 3. This must be addressed. And, it's a million things that they could do. A million things. How about Republicans, you listening to this, you're a conservative, you don't like big government, privatize the fucking student loans. What the fuck is the goddamn holdup? Reprivatize the fucking loans. What is the right waiting for? Do I need to chisel it out on your own fucking gravestone and hand deliver it to you? That's one aspect to this that you could fix. One fucking thing that will be right in line with what you all fucking apparently are supposed to believe. Fucking privatize the loans. Because that is one of the primary reasons why the tuition rates have gone up and why people are going there. Because they can just get a fucking loan with no questions asked from the goddamn government. What is the wait? What is the fucking holdup? Why hasn't this been done yesterday? So yes, I'll end it there, at least for right now, because there's just a lot about, honestly, even though I had people come back and say that Trump has done some things. There's good things that Trump has done. There's good things that conservatives have done. They're outright ignoring some of the absolute worst problems that this country is facing, that they are the ones with the power to address. You can't say, oh, this is local politics, this is state politics. No, bro, this is national politics we're talking about here. This is specific to the federal government. This must come from the federal government. When it comes to New York City and propping up the socialist shit in education, they're going to do it. But when it comes to the nationwide funding of these things, they are the ones with their hand on the purse strings. They are the ones in the hands of the levers of power. They can affect every state in the union by crippling the college system, by slashing, cutting, privatizing, and fucking it up. By doing everything that they can, every hurdle, every blockade, every simple possible way of getting rid of the state subsidized system that exists, the pipeline that exists of normal person into professional fucking deranged activist. They are the ones that have the power to switch that from where it is to what it could be, which is what it once was. It's elite. It's something that not everyone can access, although community colleges are fucking everywhere and they're very cheap. I don't know why the fuck. They're more expensive now because of it being nationalized, the loans, and it being overly accessible. That also drives up the costs because you are overstuffing the campuses, so they have to hire more people. It's in fact too competitive at this point. It's too competitive because there's too many people in the fucking system. There's a lot of bad professors that can get jobs easily because they need somebody to fill the fucking role. I had a professor who was he passed me, so I'll give him that. But he was a terrible professor. And they just put him in because the last one quit, and they needed somebody, so they found him. And he just wasn't good. But they needed somebody because somebody has to teach these a million classes, so. Anyways, yeah. Into the next election, especially, bro, if the Republicans manage to take back the House, which I haven't seen enough polling on to determine one way or another. I don't know if it's possible just yet. I have to look at the numbers. But if they can take back the House and where they have all the keys again, like, there's no fucking reason, especially in a second term for Trump, there is no earthly reason not to come out with a fucking meat hook and a meat cleaver and just rip apart the education system. There's no reason not to, other than you ignoring this massive problem. Oh, shit. Yeah, I guess I'll cover this here. I was questioning whether I was going to do a video on it because it was so funny. But, Cenk Uygur, if you don't know, is the host of the Young Turks. He's probably one of the most influential and one of the founding members of the progressive movement. Like, he's not an old socialist, but he is one of the biggest purveyors of progressive politics. I mean, going all the way back to, like, 2006 and shit. He's been around for a while, and he's become, like, a big figure. But he's not really part of, like, the more identitarian parts. I mean, he's been kicked out of more movements than he started at this point. He got kicked out of the Justice Democrats and one other thing as well. He got kicked out of that, too. For having bad opinions at some point on women and a few other people. So he's not the most woke out there. But he's been around for a while. And he's one of the biggest reasons why we have the culture we currently have because of progressivism. He's one of the biggest advocates for what we have now. And he's running for Congress. And the reason I wanted to do a video on this is because I actually went into the more nitty-gritty of his district, which, if I remember right, is the 25th District of California. It's Katie Hill's former district, now that she's resigned in disgrace. He doesn't live there, which people have pointed out. It's actually a fairly competitive district. Outside of... It used to be more centrist, and now it's leaning Democrat because people are leaving it. There's white flight in the district, so naturally there's going to be less people voting for Republicans. So with that, Democrats have a little bit of a population or demographic advantage in the district, but Republicans are still competitive. And there's, I think, 2 or 3 Republicans that are currently on board with running, and there's like a whole litany of Republicans that are planning on running or thinking of it. And a bunch of them are actually, like, rich from the district, already in politics, so that already makes them a shoo-in to do well. So if Cenk is able to defeat his Democratic competition, which there's no guarantee that he can, because honestly he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, and he's not from the district, so he doesn't know it. Even if he manages to win his primary for the Democratic Party, there is not a... Like, the only way in which he could win would be if the Republicans fuck up, nominate somebody weak, and the demographics are too overwhelming. That's the only way in which he can win. I would say, if you were to ask me today whether he wins or loses, I would say he loses. He either loses his primary or the Republican challenger, if the guy is strong enough, which there's a very good possibility. He could be winding up running against the guy that was a former congressman of that district. That guy is going to be in a good position. Especially if he can paint you as a radical. There's a decent chance that he loses either way. So the story is only so relevant, but I wanted to talk about this funny aspect to it with Sanders. Because, get this pop-up video out of here. Bernie Sanders endorsed him and then unendorsed him, like, I think it was like a few hours later. And it was because and this was an international story, by the way. This story got covered internationally, which was crazy. Bernie Sanders and I think Ro Khanna or somebody, I think it was Ro Khanna, somebody else backed away from their endorsement. But Bernie Sanders endorsed Cenk and then unendorsed Cenk. And it's basically because Cenk is being followed by a number of stupid things that he said, including jokes that he's made, sometimes at his own expense. He's being followed by the statements he's made in his own show. And ultimately, and the problem is that he's one of the people that created this culture. Like I said, he's been around for a long time. He is one of the purveyors of this culture. You know, the what he's suffering from currently, the disavowals and the retractions and the you can't say this about the greatest victim of humanity in all history of humanity, the greatest victim, the white woman. He has denigrated the white woman. And that means, he's out. That means he's earned his disavowal. And that's what he's done in the past. And unfortunately, he's one of the people that have purveyed, and sowed the seeds of the culture that we're now currently living in. And he's, as time goes on, he's been dealing with this more and more. I mean, he got kicked out of one of his own, he was the head of the Justice Democrats. He got kicked out of the organization for off-color commentary. And it's like, well, I can't say that I really feel sorry for you, Cenk, because not only do you never address the fact that, this is what's happening, this is a bad culture, an ostracizing culture, but also, and it's progressive specifically, you're one of the people that helped lay this out. You're one of the people that helped cultivate this culture. You are at fault for this culture that is now fucking up your opportunity at becoming a congressional representative. This might weigh you down enough to where you don't win your primary. And it will be no one else's fucking fault but your own. And somebody said in the chat, have I seen AIU's video on it? I haven't seen any videos by AIU in like a month. I'm going to look it up right now. The last video I've seen of him was from a month ago, which was part 4 of his coverage of the Central Park 5, whatever their names are. That's the last video I've seen from AIU. So, did he get banned again or something? So, I'm sorry this is kind of off topic. What happened with AIU? Did he get banned again? AIU Resurrection. Let me see. Why has he been uploading here instead of his normal channel? He's been uploading here consistently. What the fuck? He must have gotten banned again or something. I can only assume that that's what's going on. Okay, well, I just subscribed to that channel. Thanks for letting me know. At some point, if I ever had a chance to talk to AIU, I'd call him out in a few things. Because people get upset with him about his Second Amendment thing. I can't stand him because he is like the biggest example of an internationalist. He spent his entire life traveling the world, and every once in a while he'll talk about America like, oh, I'm an American, I'm from here, I know America, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, how often do you even live here? You spend like half your time in Europe. You're dating a European that you met in Europe. What do you spend a couple days a year in the United States? It's one of the things I don't like about him. He's like, oh, as an American, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're about as American as fucking the EU. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of, you went to college here, great. But it's just one bone that I'd have to pick with him. And I've not really seen anyone address. That's why I say it. Is that, like, people have talked, about him and his anti-Second Amendment thing. The thing that bothers me is, like, the international part of him, where he starts his sentences as an American or speaks to some kind of knowledge of the United States when it's like, again, like I say, he lives here a couple days a year. Sargon is more American than Devin. I agree with that. I agree with that. Sargon might spend more days a year in the United States than AIU. I do agree. That's harsh, but that's true. AIU equals rootless transnational elite. I do agree. I don't think that he's necessarily a bad guy. He used to be at one point in time. When he was running around, like, banning people and, like, doxing people. Not necessarily doxing. I don't want to say that. I don't remember exactly what he was doing. He might have been doxing. I can't quite remember. But he was going crazy at some point on his own channel. But he basically got right in his own mind. Maybe he got laid or something. That's what fixed it for him. But he's been a good boy for quite a while now. It's been quite a while of him being a good boy again. We'll get to that in a second. This is what I'm actually going to do a video on. Not necessarily this article by Blair White, but I want to do a video on this where I talk about Hallmark, I talk about American culture, and I got to find, if somebody in the chat wants to do me a favor, there's 500 people listening to this right now. If you want to do me a favor, other than signing up on my Subscribestar, do me a favor. There is a study or some kind of website, and it might be a PDF, I'm not sure, study, by, I want to say it's GLAAD, where they show stats, and I saw this in a video recently, but I can't quite remember whose video it was, where they talk about how the rates of acceptance of gays is declining year by year. Like, they show this date from, like, 2016 or 2014, and then they show now, and it's on a decline, and I believe it's from GLAAD. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know that PDF or website, please send it to me, because I can't remember whose video it was in, I can't remember where it was, but I want those numbers, because that is from the horse's mouth. It's very good numbers to have. It's like gold tier evidence. So maybe it was Sargon, I'm not sure. If you know the reference, if you know the numbers, find me that information, please. I'm asking you. Send that shit to me on Twitter. Send me that shit on Twitter. Because I want to do a video on this, and those numbers, oh my god, are they gold tier. Those are some gold tier numbers right there. But I guess I'll get into this while we're discussing that. So this was posted by Blair White. And it's just a general fact. Oh, actually, it might be in this fucking article and I'm not noticing it. Let's see. It'd be funny if I'm talking about this shit and it's like right in front of me and I'm not noticing. Well, these are the hard numbers. Let me see if I can find it. No. It was a page with charts. This might be it here. Oh, I might have just found it on my own. Yep, I found it. Oh, man. I don't know why. It's just like, I take 1 second to look and then I found it. I take 1 second. I actually look at the article that I'm speaking about and there it is. Oh, isn't that just so like me? Isn't it? Too busy fucking talking. Not paying enough attention to literally what's in front of me. Anyways, thanks everyone. I'll thank the chat. Thank you, chat. You helped me out tremendously in that. I'll give you credit. These are gold tier numbers. Okay, you listening to this might not get it, but these are gold tier numbers because you have to understand that GLAAD is one of, if not the biggest gay activist group out there. They're one of the most mainstream. They are one of the most powerful. They're one of the most influential. For them to put out these fucking numbers is legendary. It is legendary for them to actually put out these numbers. Because the stats that let me see if I can find. I might have to go to another slide to find the ones that I'm thinking of. Okay, I think it's this, that as time has gone on, the number of people who are arguably allies, who are comfortable with people being gay, has gone up. It's consistently, among young people, have gone up and up and up. But if you look at just the general acceptance of specifically as it deals with let's see here, let me find it. Where is it? Yes. Hold on a second. See, now I gotta remember everything about the video I saw. Especially with males, if you look at this in terms of acceptance, that is skyrocketed. From it's just a year's difference, too. It's unbelievable. Oh, okay, here it is. So, base percentage of straight people that are uncomfortable in particular situations. And they have, actually, no. I'm gonna have to look at this later, because I'm screwing myself up here. I'm getting tangled. With this particular issue, the acceptance of people being gay is actually declining. And among young people, they are the most accepting in compared to older people. The numbers have still gone up, and they are still up, but the issue of percentage of young people who report it being somewhat or very comfortable with LGBT people has declined from 53 to 45. So that is not an insignificant decline. That's not like 1%, 2%, 3%. That's a fairly large percentage of a drop per year. And that this is the second year in a row that this has been the case. The issue with it is, and with that particular chart, there's a few other things on it that I could speak to. The question is, why is this occurring? And there's a number of reasons why. Like, the biggest thing, the most glaring thing, are the drag queens. But that's, as far as I can tell, that's gay male culture. That's where that stems from. But it's shit like this. The gay activist groups have been losing on a routine basis cases that have gone to court from gay, couples that are pushing Christians to either perform at their wedding, create cakes for them, whatever. In this particular case that I'm citing here, it was, I think, 2 Christian singers. I think. It's been a while since I read this. But, let's see here. Wedding. Oh, no, they make wedding invitations. That's what they did. I thought they were singers, but they make wedding invitations, and they're Christians. So, yet again, a gay group wants these, I think it's 2 women, to make invitations to their gay wedding. Well, they're Christians, so they say no. An activist group takes up the case and fundraises to have them fight the case. The case goes to the court, and the Christians lose the original case, and then it gets reversed in higher court. And yet again, this is another case, like it is with the 2 cases of Masterpiece Cake Shop. The 2 cases on their end, when it comes to the trans case and the gay case, the Supreme Court case being the gay wedding one, they keep losing in courts. And each and every time they do, the court has to basically tangle itself to try to avoid the issue of discrimination laws. Because if they make a federal law that says that if you are a Christian, you must then produce these invitations and these cakes, then it's then a question of, well, what is the law? Does the Supreme Court case law hold? And there is a good chance that that happens. I mean, let's say, not currently in the Senate. The Senate numbers are pretty bad for the Democrats. But let's say it just happens that the Republicans cuck and they pass discrimination law. Or some court case changes discrimination law. And it all gets looped in. So that the federal discrimination law that currently exists based on race and other factors, it then has to include sexual orientation. Let's just say sexual orientation. If that happens, this is instantly going to the Supreme Court again, because you're going to have another one of these kind of cases where a gay activist group takes this to the Supreme Court level. And I am saying, based on even knowing the case itself, the Masterpiece Cake Shop case being nonsensical in its decision, the thing they're trying to avoid is the fact that this isn't a matter of, my free speech, my religious liberty. No, that's bullshit. This is forced labor. That is what this case is about. And so, with these cases, to get back on track here, this to me, these very public incidents of bullying of Christians in the United States by gay activist groups that are worse than they've ever been. This is my opinion for why acceptance of gays is declining. I think that people in general are tying gay activism with gays, and that is why it's declining. And it, keep as well the culture aspect of this as well, in that we're beat over the head with this nonstop 24/7 that you can accept this or you are a bigot. And the problem is that it's like this entire issue, as I've said in the past, should have ended on June 26, 2015, when it came to a Supreme Court case on gay marriage. This should have died then outside of the Christians who are like, oh, no, traditional marriage, blah, blah, blah. Like, they could have continued to fight that fight. But it makes no sense for the gays and for the activist organizations to be continuing on outside of what I say is cultural hegemony. And if you don't agree with me, if you think I'm wrong, and every once in a while some retard will stumble across my channel and claim that I'm wrong about something that I'm so clearly right about, I'll grab this and I'll just throw this in. This is one of the articles I'm planning on using in this video, and it's from GLAAD. That this isn't about fairness or freedom or equality. This is about hegemony. This is about control. This is about pushing a single culture and it being a monolith. This is about pushing a monoculture in which you are the puppeteers of the aristocracy who dictates what the culture is. And what I don't like, as someone that likes lesbian relationships, ideally, not the typical bull dyke beat your girlfriend style that we currently have, but the ideal version of them in Yuri and whatnot, what I can't stand about this is so much of what's portrayed in fiction is boring, insincere, artificial, and there's no real thought put into it. It's usually intentionally ugly, and there's my phone in the background going off. But it's done in a way that, in my view, is inauthentic. It's done for cynical reasons. It's either there to check a box, or it's to push the author's politics. It's never done for the sake of decent writing, at least not commonly that I've seen. And so this article I'm using as an example when it comes to GLAAD, that in my opinion this is another aspect for why their acceptance is declining. Despite the fact that this is pushing in all forms of media, and it is. It is being pushed in all forms of media. Despite that, regardless of that, acceptance is declining. And in my opinion, it's because people, whether they understand it or not, have some semblance of knowledge that this is artificial and it's being pushed on them. And if they don't comply, then there are repercussions. And I'll talk about that more in the video when I get to it. And it'll be different to what I'm talking about now. But yeah. Thankfully I got all that saved already, so it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see here. I guess we'll go to this, speaking of monoculture. So speaking of monoculture, close to home for me is Syracuse University, which I don't know if I've really been to. I know of its existence. I know of people that went there. I don't know why. I don't really know much about it in terms of its prestige or anything, but I know a couple of people that went there. Currently, they're having a meltdown on the campus, and they have for a while. Every once in a while, I've seen a story pop up about this kind of thing, and there were shit like this at Buff State and at UB. The major universities that I've attended, there were incidents like this that happened. This one is specifically, this story is about, it wasn't graffiti, it was something else. Actually, yes, this was graffiti, but it wasn't, it wasn't specific to a fake hate crime. It was to graffiti on campus. So, whenever you see shit that's sprayed on campus, it's very unlikely to be the one white supremacist on campus. It is very, very, very likely to be the left-wing groups. When I was at Buff State, there was constantly shit placed on the walls, whether it was posters. There was chalk drawings all over the campus all the time, not every point of the year. In the winter, it was usually posters and shit in all the buildings. And it was always the left-wing groups. It was always the left-wing groups that were spamming the campus with bullshit. And it's just day-to-day shit. It's just the average day on a college campus at this point. If you see, like, it's okay to be white, which never happened at any university that I went to, nothing like that ever happened. If it ever did, it's an international story when that happens. But every day on a campus is left-wing people spraying graffiti on campus, making chalk drawings on campus, putting up poster boards, and all kinds of shit all over campus. So what happened here was some she-twink got arrested at Syracuse University by the campus police in connection to four incidents of graffiti sprayed on campus that was around like alleged racism that's apparently on campus in Syracuse, which if you've ever been there, it's like, yeah, right. You got as much chance of racism happening there as Rochester, University of Rochester, or fucking Buff State. Yeah, there's gonna be so much fucking racism on a campus where like 40% of the student body's fucking black. You just know there's gonna be a lot of racism there. Yeah, right. What you're gonna get is a lot of fake hate crimes. That's what you're gonna get. And I think that this is just an example of what's going on all across college campuses in the country, which is there's not enough racism on the campuses, so you got to make it up. And in terms of who's doing the graffiti, who's abusing the campus, and defacing the campus, it's leftists. It's always been leftists. Even my own experience says that. So, is it any surprise that there's an arrest made when it comes to the graffiti on campus, people defacing the campus? It's a left-winger. It's a fucking neon hair she-twink. Of course. Who else would you expect it to be at this point? So I just thought I figured I'd mention this just because there was a little bit of fake news going around that this was a fake hate crime. No, it's just a matter of is what's going on there likely to be a fake hate crime? Yes. But in terms of who's defacing the campus, which is what they're making claims about, oh, there's all this graffiti and pro-white manifestos being left around. This is all leftists. These are all leftists doing this. Like, this is one big fucking witch hunt at this university that's just being prolonged because the university itself is utterly sympathetic to their aims of communism. Whether it's just the average class-based communism or race-based communism. Either way, the administration is sympathetic to their goals. And that's why it continues. Speaking of twinks, there was an article that was getting passed around from today about some story, or yesterday rather, somebody passed it along to me today, about this story of some artist on SoundCloud that got removed for being an edgy boy, but I'm not here to talk to you, like, obviously I don't agree with this guy being censored or whatever, like, obviously I disagree. I want to play his song, and I'm going to say right up front to whatever his name is. What's his name? Negative XP. So all credit to Negative XP. Don't copyright this, please, dude. Hopefully your label, if you have one, doesn't copyright me either. I'm going to link to everything so people, if they want to listen to your shit, can go find it. I've already given your shout-out, Negative XP. I want you to listen to this Edgy Boys fucking song here. I'm only going to play a little bit of it. I was listening to it and I laughed out loud because I was like, yeah, dude, I'm not surprised you got banned. I'm not in any way justifying it, but I'm saying I know why you got banned. He did a song called Scott Pilgrim versus the World That Ruined a Whole Generation of Women. I want you to listen to this fucking song, and I'm going to make sure I unmute this shit so you can hear it, and I'm going to mute my microphone so there's no feedback. I want you to listen to this song because I laughed out loud earlier when I listened to it. Overall quality is not like amazing, like it's not professional level, but it's basically a parody song. That's basically what it is. It's a comedy song. So let me mute myself. Conceited with no self-esteem. She's a teenage dream if you hate yourself. Bright-dyed hair and obnoxious clothes, thinks communism is the way to go. She's a whore, a dime a dozen Jezebel. Fluoride mind and SSRIs, 1,000 yard stare for all those guys that she fucked and sucked before you came along. Retarded views on politics, likes to listen to shitty music. She drinks and smokes and toasts out of a dirty bong. She saw Ramona Flowers and felt so empowered by a movie made in Hollywood. It's sad to think she's someone's daughter, like a lamb to the slaughter. But honestly, I'd still hit if I could. See, 30 years old, but acts like she's 16. Likes to go to shows cause she's so fucking cool. Bright-dyed hair but dead inside. Plan B lifetime supply. She's a whore, gave head since middle school. Only pedophiles in denial. If she's anything worthwhile, her fertile lifestyle drives you wild. She's an alcoholic loser bitch that likes to listen to shitty music. She drinks and smokes and cokes and chokes on dick. She saw Ramona Flowers and felt so empowered. Alright, I'm gonna mute myself now. You couldn't hear it because I muted myself, but I was laughing throughout this song. Yeah, the Pewterwood, well, I won't play it, but at the end, he changes Hollywood to Pewterwood, which I think he should have used that lyric from the begin with. So, overall quality of the song, I don't think is I don't want to say it is a fantastic song because I personally like the politics underlying the song. I agree with it. It's a parody song. And every aspect of this is true. Every fucking aspect of this song is true. Like, every single thing that he points to is a true statement about these kind of girls. And it's amazing to me because this is a certain percentage of women. Like, I'm not saying it's a large percentage, but it is a certain percentage of women. Like, it's insane. Like, especially, like, dude, every fucking lyric, like, she's 30 years old but acts like she's 16. That is so fucking true. That is so fucking true. There's so many aspects of this that are fucking true. And I like the lyric, and it's how you know it's a parody, that the musician says that if he had a chance, he'd probably still hit it. Like, that as well. I mean, that's a self-deprecating joke, but this is a parody song, but in itself, like, musically, it's not that bad. But I think that in terms of, like, it's too, like, what he should do is take this song and, I don't know, make it less like garage band, or, not garage band, but, what would it be? I'm trying to think of, like, what genre. It's not really, like, post-punk. I wouldn't call it post-punk. Is it, like, garage jam? Whatever it is. The style of it is. But I would change the style. The actual singing, you can keep that. I would change the abrasiveness of it. Like I say, I can imagine this being, like, a legitimately good song. But I don't think it was intended to be. I think it was just intended to be a parody. But it's just amazing to me listening to this. This could be, like, a legitimately good song. Like, not just a funny parody, but a legitimately good song. I just wish that he'd change it a little bit. No, I don't think it's grunge. Pop punk, maybe. I'm not really sure. It's not punk. Skate punk might actually be true. Skate punk might be true. That might actually be what it is. California punk, that might be true as well. I don't think it's grunge. Garage rock might be the right, like, arc genre or whatever. But anyways. I just wanted to give this guy a shout out because he just got banned off of SoundCloud, and he's angry because they owe him like $1,200 worth of money, and he's never gonna get it from fucking SoundCloud because it's probably run by SJWs. I'm just gonna assume that, and it's probably true. But this song was fucking great, and I just wanted to give it a shout out. And it's part of the monoculture. This is what I mean. This is basically, like, this is how you enact a monoculture. This guy gets banned. If he's a victim of anything, it's that he's a dissenter on the outside. You know, he's a real rebel. The people that are banning him are just enforcing orthodoxy. And that's it. There's a monoculture, and this guy's not a part of it. You know what I want to hear? I want to hear an acoustic version of this song. Just him in a guitar, acoustic guitar, and basically, like, chill rock. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that version of this song. Like him softly saying these lyrics. I think that would be a better song and just funnier in general. What do you think? People in the chat, do you think an acoustic version of this would work? I think it would. Anyways, so yeah, shout out to this guy. Sorry you got banned, dude. You're not going to get your money, but it's because you're on the outside. let's see here. What else we got here? I guess we'll go with this other big league article that I'm not sure what it is because it timed out. So let's go to this one. Let's roll the dice. What is it? Oh, it's this one. Okay, I already talked about that. Never mind. Timed out again. This is... I had this in here. It was basically Nikki Haley just talking, and... I don't like Nikki Haley. I think she's a fucking dyed-in-the-wool neocon, slick-back shyster. Someone you can't trust as far as you can throw. But she more or less speaks about her time in the administration with Trump, and that pretty much from day one, I think that was the point of the article, pretty much since day one, people have been whispering in Trump's ear, and they've been trying to undermine his agenda. And as far as we know, that hasn't changed. So... here's a source that's very likely on Trump's side in a whole litany of issues that's just coming right out and saying that there's people that are part of the administration trying to undercut Trump, and they're still there. So here's an article I thought would be worth talking about. And so I'll just read you this article. A North Carolina man says his divorce was almost unbearable, but an unusual large claim just landed him a $750,000 judgment. According to court documents, Kevin Howard recently won a judgment against his ex-wife's lover for alienation of affections, a claim that exists in just a handful of other states across the country, according to court documents. Alienation of affection laws, sometimes known as homewrecker laws, allows the spouse to sue another person who purposely interfered with the marital relationship. The person sued is usually the person a spouse cheated with. Howard had been with his wife for 12 years. When she approached him about separating, the couple started attending marriage counseling, but something felt off. So Howard hired a private investigator who uncovered the affair, he told CNN. I don't know why he talked to the press about this. Howard blamed the other man for alienating his wife from him, according to court documents. In August, a judge ruled in his favor. He was a colleague of hers from work, which, I mean, there you go. Women in the workplace. Need I say anything more? He ate dinner with us several times. Ooh. We spent time together. I thought this was a friend. Ooh. But the lawsuit wasn't just about the money, he said. I believe in the sanctity of marriage, he said. Other families should see what the consequences are to not only breaking the vow to whatever religion you subscribe to, but also your legal responsibilities. CNN has been unable to contact the defendant, who's in this case the bull. And apparently, according to his attorney, Cynthia Mills, it's a very prevalent case. Like, this is a prevalent series of cases that are happening now. Yeah, it's tort law, yeah. Oh, this might be another story here. Let me click on that one. A man cheated with someone else's wife. Yeah, so this is the same kind of deal, except for the total is fucking $8.8 million in that case.
A jilted husband.
Shut up, CNN. Oh, man. So, you better be careful about cucking a man. And I have to say that I agree with... I don't agree with the sentiment of, oh, it's the guy. Oh, the guy. Oh, he is just this fucking, unbelievable bull. He is the most charming man alive. He somehow charmed this guy's man into bed. Bullshit. This dude's wife was a fucking whore. That's the fact of the matter here. Even if he doesn't want to say it, even now they're divorced. The guy's wife was a fucking whore, and now the lover's paying $750,000. But in my opinion, she should also be paying this guy for being a homewrecker. So I'll let you guys in the chat think about it. We need to pass some more jilted lover laws where if you are the whore in the relationship, and I get you could have like what are they called, prenuptial agreements, where basically if the wife cheats, and it could be either or, but if the wife cheats, then she gets nothing in terms of the divorce. If that's the reason for the divorce, then she gets nothing. And I would say that I support that kind of thing. You know, if you're a woman and you're afraid that your man is going to screw you over, then have him sign a prenup. And if you're a man that's afraid your wife is, or soon-to-be wife is a fucking whore, then you need to, you know, go on patrol and say, listen, honey, I love you, but, you know, I'm not taking the chance where I'm going to lose half my shit because you're a fucking whore. So, yeah, I can't say that I'm in any way, because this is the day in which we live. You know, unfortunately, as much as we want to blame the bull, the woman also plays a role in this. And I just want to point to, yet again, I already said it, he was a colleague of hers from work. You know, can I zoom in? Let me zoom in. Scroll down. He was a colleague of hers from work. So if you are someone out there who's going to tip your fucking fedora as hard as possible and say, oh, women in the workplace is a good thing, I'm here to tell you that if a woman wants to work, that's fine, but there are consequences of women being in the workplace. And one of the problems we're seeing is marriages being destroyed. In this instance, this marriage was destroyed because this woman whored herself out to a coworker. And now her, the boyfriend, you know, the bull, is now paying fucking, you know, closing in on $1 million for that pussy. I hope it was worth it, bro. I hope that pussy was worth the money. I don't think it was. Do you think this guy right here, and I'm not one to talk, but do you think this dude right here is pulling in some like A-list cheerleader pussy? I don't think so. So I hope the pussy's worth it, bro. Let me close this right here. So this was, hold on. Jesus Christ. Fucking Washington Post and their stupid shit. And of course the ads just start coming in. This happened in November, late in November, but I wanted to mention it because I watched Sarah Baron Cohen's, or Saka, whatever, Cohen movies when I was younger, and he did a bunch of them. Borat, when I was young, or younger rather, that was really big. I remember Borat being really big. There was also like The General or whatever. He's done a bunch of movies, and all of his movies have always been him playing stereotypes. His like, half of his movies have been based on the prejudices of others, whether it's self-deprecating humor in that regard or it's that of others. He's exposing the ignorance of others. Like, a large proportion of his humor is offensive humor. Like, I remember in Talladega Nights, the Will Ferrell movie, he played like a gay French driver. Like, it's amazing to me that a guy that made a career on edgy humor went on to basically cuck and go to everybody's favorite organization, the ADL, YouTube's favorite organization, by the way, Susan, if you're listening, and just fucking, like, be the biggest living hypocrite imaginable. You know, the biggest living hypocrite in November of this year. Throw his entire basis, his entire genre, categorically, under the bus, and to basically fail to address it ultimately. He addressed it in some small part, but basically, now that he's made his money, say that no one else can do what he did. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, and I wasn't like a massive fan of this guy. So I don't really care that much about it. But to me, it's just so amazing that these comedians from when I was younger, and Dave Chappelle is like one of the few that basically haven't cucked. All the comedians from when I was younger are basically just well past their prime. They've thrown themselves under the bus. Like, I remember when fucking, oh god, what's the movie? It's the movie that fucking, the guy that did Joker did, I think. No, it wasn't The Hangover. Let me see if he did Old School. Did he do Old School? Yes, he did! Todd Phillips did Old School. I remember when Old School came out, and I think I was in fucking high school by then. I'm not even sure. But I remember when fucking Old School came out, and it was the biggest fucking movie, dude. Old School was such a fucking big deal when I was a kid. And that was also Todd Phillips. And I still like it. I think it's a great movie. But that was like a huge movie for like Will Ferrell in terms of culture. That was like a huge, as what was his name? Frank the Tank in that movie? It was amazing. Like, I'm not going to say like it made Will Ferrell's career or anything like that, because I don't think that's true. Like, he was already famous when he was on SNL. But it was like another big movie for Will Ferrell, even though he wasn't like the protagonist in it. He was like a supporting character. It's just amazing. And even Will Ferrell today, as far as I'm aware today, like Will Ferrell's another comedian, like a legendary comedian who's cocked. And here's another one. Here's another fucking comedian who's basically disavowed his entire fucking genre of comedy. Like, the thing he is fucking known for. Playing stereotypes and edgy humor. He's basically just thrown it all under the bus for virtue signal points. For glitter twat. Glitter twat. Twitter clout. Jesus. Yeah. Fuck this guy. I think we can just all say that and end it there. It's just amazing to me. It's sad to see, it really is. Because Talladega Nights was, it's a little bit more lesser known, or it's a little lesser known, I should say, than Old School, for at least my generation. But, you know, it's just sad to see, like, all these great comedians just one by one cuck. Just one by one embrace the monoculture. The only exception is probably fucking Chappelle. Chappelle might be one of the very few exceptions to the rule of everyone cucking out. You know, Dave Chappelle's still out there trying to be edgy. And he has, like, left-wing politics, let's be clear. But he hasn't cucked. He hasn't. Anchorman was another big one when I was young. Anchorman was huge. You're wrong about Adam Carolla, I believe. Adam Carolla. Is it Adam Carolla? Who am I thinking? Is it not Adam Carolla? Is it somebody else who's apologized numerous times for his humor? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. One of those comedians that people cite has apologized numerous times, and I put him on my list of cucks. Because you can only apologize so many times before you're like a total cuck. Who am I thinking of then? I don't know. It's somebody else. It's not Louis C.K. Is it Norm Macdonald? Is that who I'm thinking of? Is it Norm Macdonald that's apologized a bunch of times? I think it might be Norm. It might be him. He went on The View and was like, you know, head in hand, like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Oh, man. Oh, it was terrible. So let's get rid of that. So there's currently a bill in Congress, I believe it's in the House, where they're trying to up the age of smoking. And if you were to ask me, like, what is, Louis, the cornerstone, the absolute bedrock of white woman politics? What is the bedrock? Like, Louis, left-wing, right-wing, independent, centrist, what is the bedrock of white woman politics? What makes up the politics of the average white woman? And I would say that there is no greater example. There's no greater example of what encapsulates white woman politics more than this. And this is from October. It's an old article. I'm not sure where it's gone since then. But in Massachusetts, they were trying to make it a $150 fine for the first offense, while repeat offenders will face 6 months imprisonment if they call a woman a bitch. If they maliciously call someone a bitch within Massachusetts, within the Commonwealth. Massachusetts the Republicans rather, mocked this. I would bet every cent I have this would get Republican votes. Male Republican votes. I would bet every cent I have that even if a party on Twitter is making fun of it for the Massachusetts GOP, this bill would get Republican votes. Because this is the bedrock of white woman politics. This guy called me a bitch, make it illegal. And every fucking white knight within earshot will fall over themselves to do it for you. Something as small as being referred to as a bitch. There was a quote from the Commodore, the character in Boardwalk Empire. He's talking with like two other like politicians, and they're talking about women's suffrage. And he calls in his black maid, and he says to her, like, what do you think about the League of Nations? And the maid says, I don't know what you're talking about. And he says, of course you don't. You know, I pay you to clean my shit. And dismisses her. And I believe he's talking to Nucky Thompson. And he points to her and he says, that's your woman vote right there. And I'm here to tell you that while I'm not saying necessarily to repeal the 19th, I am pointing to this as the character was in Boardwalk Empire. And I'm telling you, this is your woman vote right here. Take that for what it is. But that's just my opinion. This is your woman vote. It's stemming from this. It's where it's coming from. It's who's being pandered to. This is your woman vote. And I mean it. And like I say, for any partisans in my chat, and I doubt there's very many of you of Republicans, I would bet you money that this would get Republican support to some degree. Not necessarily the majority, but it would get Republican votes. I'd put money on it. A lot of money. All my money. That this would get, if it went to a vote, it would get Republican votes. I guarantee it. Because you get the Republican, you'd have Tucker Carlson, somebody would bring them on Fox News, and they say, so, legislator from this district in Massachusetts in the Commonwealth, you voted for this bill which makes it illegal to call a woman a bitch. Why? What's the Republican going to say? Well, I have daughters, I have a mother, I have a wife, I don't think it's right to call a woman a bitch. and he's gonna lean in close to the camera. The camera's gonna zoom in on his face, and he's gonna tip that fedora. Because left wing, right wing doesn't matter. Fedora tippers are fucking everywhere. And you don't necessarily have to be like a super, scratchy, patchy beard beta male. You can be your 6'1", well-built, Republican, clean-cut politician. Chances are they are also a fucking fedora tipper. Because it's just common. The fact that, like, this is seen as, like, ridiculous, like, oh, this is laughable. They would want to pass this? This surprises you? That's my view of this. This surprises you? This is in any way surprising? I don't find it surprising. This is just like everything else. All the other laws we have in the books that are just like this. I mean, within discrimination laws, women are treated as a minority when they're the majority of the population. That's how ridiculous this is. So, you can spare me. You can spare me the fucking, the excuses and the fucking fedora tipping and all the rest. That, unfortunately, one of the consequences of politics is the endless fucking fedora tipping and the fact that everyone, regardless of affiliation, is guilty of it. Everyone. And by the way, for anyone who's listening to this who's just new to the channel or doesn't know me, women will never be equal to men. Never. So long as they are given special treatment. And as far as I can tell, we are biologically predispositioned towards just giving women an unbelievable amount of privileges, giving them an incredible amount of deference. And rather than when listening to their ridiculous complaints that you will often hear about the wage gap and so on and so forth, it's just nonsense. So many are willing to entertain it. Even people that are supposedly on the right side of the issues. People that aren't in favor of discrimination laws and so on. They still pander to it. People that aren't in favor of affirmative action. They still pander to it. So, yeah. Let's see. I guess we'll go to this. So here is an article. It's half a hit piece from The Atlantic on Tucker Carlson. And the reason I'm pointing to this article is because I read it, what was it? I read it when it was on the 15th. I was reading it. And it's just Carlson just going through and lambasting all the groups that he's been hitting recently. And despite the fact that the author is basically like, well, he has opinions that coincide with white supremacy, it's like, by the way, he's the ultimate Chad. He's more successful than he's ever fucking been. He's like a massive fucking figure on the right now that Republicans are, listening to. The president himself is listening to Tucker Carlson. Like, he's a huge influential figure now. He's making more money than ever before. And he's out there shitting on a whole bunch of, shitting on Republicans. Shitting on the American Enterprise Institute. He's shitting on the second biggest donor to the Republican Party. He's shitting on congressional Republicans that he disagrees with. He's basically firing on every cylinder. He's firing both barrels at every target that irritates him. He is basically he is in right now one of the biggest chads on the right. And it's just funny to me that even in what is essentially in part a hit piece, they can't help but just show all the reasons why he's worth listening to. It's amazing that even let me see here. Here, Carlson tapes live from Washington, D.C. 5 nights a week with all the trappings of any major cable news set. The bright lights and the pixelated backdrops and a row of producers studying his every move, but Tucker Carlson Tonight Studio also pulses with a kind of frenetic energy, one that perhaps comes only with your show's basic message. When your show's basic message is a gleeful fuck you. That doesn't make him sound bad. That makes him sound like a fucking absolute rebel. Let me see if I can find one of his choice quotes in here. Because there's... he shits on the AEI, which is a huge, huge think tank in the United States. Let me see if I can find a good one. Let's see here. Yeah, here's where it goes into the hit piece about who's a white supremacist. Brr, brr, brr. Let's see here. I'm looking for a particular quote. He talks about how he failed in the past. He had a show on MSNBC that failed. He had a show on CNN that failed as well. Okay, so David French, which I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of, especially if you're anyone on the right, you've heard of David French. So David French shits on Carlson. I'll just read this. So, cue the lamentations again, this time from the movement conservatives, who might have hoped to see him contend with the populist fraught history in Trump's era manifestation and shape into something different. Carlson has radically reinvented himself, says David French, senior editor of the conservative outlet The Dispatch. And one would hope he'd reinvent himself again, grant the reality of right-wing populism's race problem, and do something determined and intentional to overcome it. So here's David French saying that if you're a populist, you're a fucking racist. If you're a nationalist, you're a fucking racist. This is what David French is saying. So just so you know. Here's the response. When I relayed that sentiment to Carlson, he burst out laughing. Whatever, he said. I've made a complete break mentally with the world I used to live in. He later followed up with an official statement. David French is a buffoon, one of the least impressive people I've ever met. Only in non-profit conservatism could he have a paying job. And he goes on from there. But like I say, it's so funny because even in a piece on the Atlantic where the person is trying to basically trying to press together like racism and the populist right or the nationalist right, and Tucker Carlson included, it's a smear. This part of this piece is a smear. Like, it still makes him look good. It still makes him look good in so many ways. And so I'll link to this article if you want to go read the full thing. It's not that long. But I was laughing as I was reading this, and it was just amazing to me that even when they're trying to make him look bad, it's like they can't help but include all the things that show that, like, the internationalist right, the neoliberal right, the neocon right have failed completely, and that somebody like Tucker Carlson is now at his apex. He's being listened to by the most important people in the country, and he's pushing, like, unorthodox conservatism in a very real way, and he's calling out powerful figures while doing so. So yeah, it's great. So if you have a chance, go read the article. So this article's from was it from today? I think it's from today. Where's the date on it? Oh yeah, it's from today. It's apparently from an hour ago. Let me refresh this. Probably for a few hours. Nope, it's like an hour ago. So this is another article from Blair White on the Post Millennial. And it's just crazy because it's a real phenomenon in the United States. And this could be a better article, I will say that, because it could go through like all the number of instances, which show in the picture a little bit. There's so many instances of this, of a Trump supporter wearing some sort of Trump memorabilia. It doesn't necessarily have to be a MAGA hat, but some sort of Trump memorabilia, where they're beat up by some leftist, and it just keeps happening over and over, and it has for years. It has since the beginning. Like, Trump supporters keep getting beat up. And it's just amazing to see that, like, people talk about, oh man, white supremacy and the right, you know, they're so dangerous. Look at this random fat militia guy. He has some edgy things to say. Oh my God, listen to this right winger toting a firearm as he says things. Oh, isn't he scary? Meanwhile, leftists are out there just fucking cracking skulls, and no one gives a fucking shit. This is one of the things that I'm going to take to my grave about, you know, in 4 years from now, after the end of Trump's term. You know, I'm 40 years old. I am the quintessential boomer at that point. If somebody asked me, like, what do I remember about Trump's term in office, this is going to be one of the things that I remember. That during Trump's administration, leftists were beating the fuck out of conservatives all over the country for the entire duration of his term. From beginning to the end, people on the right were getting the shit beat out of them by leftists. And that it happened routinely, and that no one fucking cared. That in many ways, the system, prosecutors, the police, the state, looked the other way. It doesn't always happen. Some of these people do get arrested. But a lot of times, the system looks the other way. But yeah, I just wanted to mention this because it keeps happening. It keeps happening. And I'm telling you that it's not going to stop. No matter what anyone says or does, it's going to happen throughout Trump's administration. It's very likely to be 8 years, and this is going to happen continually from now until the end of those fucking 8 years. So in another 5 years. It's just going to continue. And I want it to be clear that when people talk to me about Trump's administration, people go, oh, his immigration laws, oh, his rhetoric. Like, a conversation. I'm 45 years old, and we're recalling Trump's administration. I'm going to fucking bring this up. I'm going to bring this up. That during Trump's administration, leftists on a nationwide level were running around beating the fuck out of Trump supporters all throughout the country. And there was a story about it usually once a week. About another Republican, another Trump supporter that got their shit kicked in by another leftist. And it happened routinely, usually weekly. There's a big story throughout the entire administration. And very little was done about it. So, yeah, I just thought it bears repeating. I know that you'll run into some, like, I had a friend of the family who got punched by a Trump supporter. So it is in some ways reciprocal. There is some of this that happens on the other end. Like I say, anecdotally, if a friend of my father's, I'll say that, friend of the family, got punched in a bar by a Trump supporter because he was like complaining about Trump, or he was at the bar and he's complaining about Trump, or he said something about Hillary. And if I recall correctly, the guy said, "Are you a Hillary supporter?" And he said, "Yes." And the guy decked him, punched him in the face, and then ran away. He hit him pretty hard, too. And then he ran away. So it does happen on the other side. But my big thing is that this kind of political violence is wrong in principle, and I do think it is disproportionate on the other end. I guess we'll shit on Gab. So this porn issue happened, and I mentioned it in passing, really, that Gab was one of the real proponents of this, and I had to unfollow Gab because they were like tweeting like 500 times a day, and I'm not even joking. Fucking Jeremy from the Quartering called him out. Like, Torbo was tweeting nonstop for days and days and days. He might still be, but I unfollowed him. But this is just an article from One Angry Gamer where it goes into the issue itself of porn. And the issue is that while there is a means by which that you can actually ban porn. And I've seen people argue the effectiveness of it, that there is a chance that this could be effective, because certain avenues of restrictions are effective. I don't think that you can actually make this effective in a way that is not something that would open up for the opportunity for the state to go fucking crazy. Because the minute that you're entering your, like, in order to access the full internet, you have to basically enter your driver's license or your social security number. Like, you're doing that on public desktops. Like, there's so many ways in which that this would be a fucking heyday and a golden age for fucking malware and identity theft. I don't think that this would lead to a good end. And I think that the people that are arguing in favor of it don't really care about the means. They're just simply arguing it from an ideological perspective. And it's like, well, if your opinion is so good, if your argument is so right, why would you need state intervention? The problem is that if you are someone that is more on the traditionalist right, or, traditionalists in general, the culture has basically been lost to you. And while I do think that in the future there is going to be a resurrection of a certain kind of Christianity, I do think that we are headed on that trajectory. And I believe I talked to Sargon about it. I do think that is going to happen. I don't think that this is one of the proper uses of the state that is actually something that is going to be effective and you are going to win fans from. If you want to tackle the issue of porn, which should be probably like 80th on your list of fucking priorities, it's definitely not in... I don't really care about porn. Are the people that are addicted to it? Yeah, but there's people addicted to McDonald's. There's people that are addicted to cigarettes. There's people addicted to alcohol. There's people addicted to fucking everything. And, as it is with the fucking junkie on the street, I step over them. If you want to open up some sort of charity and deal with them, feel free. Godspeed. You're probably more moral of a person than I am. But I don't have fucking time. Alright? I got a busy enough life as it is. I don't have time to be charitable. The issue is, though, the state is never charitable. The state is always taking money from me to spend on what the fuck ever. And I don't think, especially when it comes to, if you remember correctly about the Obamacare website, if we can't trust government to set up a fucking government website, why the fuck are we going to address them to have basically totalitarian control over the internet? Why do we trust the state to do that? So I understand that there's been certain people that have criticized the video that I did on this particular issue. They don't think that it's not necessarily that I'm wrong, but that I'm speaking out of ignorance, or we just disagree in terms of priorities. But it's like I don't even think that I necessarily disagree with your priorities of men getting married and having families. But it's like, I really don't think that porn is really the source. It could be a source of a certain percentage of sexual dysfunction, perhaps. But I think that in some ways, porn is simply the what would be the best way to describe it? It's not the source. It's basically one of the direct outcomes from the source. Like, it can have some semblance of responsibility and dysfunction socially and sexually, like I already said. But in terms of what it's actually doing to American society, I really don't think this is it. I think you are looking at it through a perspective that I think is incorrect. I think you're giving it a certain amount of authority that it's not really due. I think that you are exaggerating the problem of its existence. And the issue is, like, the way you know you're dealing with someone who's not necessarily a dishonest person, but is arguing in a dishonest fashion, is they take the most extreme example. And I've already argued this. I did it with Dank, where I cited, Euphoria, the visual novel, where it has tons of extreme shit in it. And the moral of the game itself is basically, don't be a sadistic fuck. Your role in life, if you want to have any kind of meaning, is to protect the weak. And that's the end of the story. Like, there's a true end to the game, and that's the true end, where the protagonist sacrifices himself, not to his own death, but sacrifices himself to save an innocent. And it's like, just because something's pornographic doesn't mean it's evil, doesn't mean it's immoral. Like, it can feature something that is immoral and have a moral theme to it that you would otherwise agree with. But the problem is that you're so blinded by your demand for control over culture that you don't care. You don't care whether something has positive themes, that have themes that align with even what you believe. You just see it as something ugly and immoral, and therefore you want it banned. And I think that makes you the wrong actor, the immoral actor in that situation. So I would say to those that are critical of what I've said about the issue of porn and are anti-porn generally, I would say that, I've thought about this position in depth. This is not something that, you might take issue with something that I've argued, but in terms of the underlying principles for why I believe this and what I'm arguing, I've thought this pretty well through, and I've not seen anyone do a real comprehensive refutation of anything I've said in regards to that. It's always the semantics around the argumentation of examples I've used, metaphors, analogies that I use. It's deal with the issue itself and the fact that not only are you setting yourself up to make yourself the villain, but you're doing something that I don't even think, and you can't even prove is going to be ultimately effective in the end. If you can't even acknowledge, for one, that I believe the same as you, that we should pursue, we want to have more families and so on, I don't think this is going to result in that. So let's move on. So there is a big article from the Washington Post, and I think I got another one in the New York Times, but they basically fucking, not AgeGate, paywall it. And it's basically the fact that since the very beginning of the Afghanistan war, the government has been lying about it. Are you surprised? Well, now we have more evidence to say what's been lied about, for how long, what exactly, and just to the degree that the lies... I mean, when the Pentagon loses trillions of dollars and it's like everyone just looks the other way, that's how you know some real shit's going on. But if you want to go read this, it is a worthwhile read, and it just goes into the sheer scale of it, like all the things that have been lied about, the fact that it was a fucking unwinnable war from the very beginning, that people understood how badly it was going, and that they lied nonstop about it for the sake of continuing on. There's a lot of blame that gets issued towards the Bush administration, but the fact is that this carried on under fucking Obama. It's only really been dealt with under more so under Trump, and Trump from the very beginning has been skeptical of the Afghanistan war. And I know that he's been two-faced on it a little bit in terms of his rhetoric. But Obama, he was just continuing on with it. And I couldn't stand when I saw Republicans and conservatives basically saying, like, oh, Obama's wrong to do the drawdown and all this sort of shit that was going on when Obama was president. Like, Obama is too much of a flake to have us win the war in the Middle East. It's like, we were never going to win these fucking wars to begin with. They knew that we weren't going to win. And yet it continued on. Thousands died for fucking nothing. So if you want to, you can go read this article to find out more. But basically, the crux of the and there's also a video here you can watch. It's basically the fact that in Afghanistan, we were never going to fucking win. We were doomed to fail from the very beginning. And they were lying about it every step of the way. And, I closed out on that, the loli I had. That's what I X'd out on. Let me put that back. Okay. So the last article I got until I turn this over to the chat, and sorry I haven't read the super chats, but I've wanted to, push through this. So this was a story from the beginning of the month, which was that there's very likely to be a very large, and this is hardly the only one most likely, a large-scale fraud when it comes to the visa program and the student program as well, student visa program, as it relates to Chinese students. Can you imagine it? Is this surprising to anyone? Is anyone blown away by the fact that when it comes to student visas? And all I'm saying to the Chinese students that come here, and I have seen quite a few of them at UB, I'm just saying that marriage can go a long way for you to stay here and get citizenship. If that's what you truly want, marriage goes a long way. Just think about it. You don't have to commit fraud. You just got to marry somebody. You just got to find someone. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, and it's very specific to Chinese students because they're coming here in numbers of like tens and tens of thousands. Like the numbers of Chinese young people that are coming here for the student programs it's fucking ridiculous. And there's fraud going on because they want to stay. They want to stay here. Their ultimate goal is to escape China. Well, not all, but a decent number of them want to escape China and stay here. And I'm just saying that unless you're a spy, then you can get out. Then you have to go back. But from what I've seen on campus, I'm not going to say that China's sending their best necessarily, but, some of the best are coming along. I've seen them. And I'll just want to say that I am in favor of lowering student visas overall, in particular to China. Visa programs just generally, regardless of work or student. And one of the problems of when our state basically can't control mass immigration, this is the outcome. Fraud on a nationwide level in a way that is ultimately ridiculous. And that basically ICE, who is basically trying to contend with the amount of fraud and all of the things that are going on, like ICE has to be the most overworked agency in the government. I mean, they're doing everything. They're fighting every kind of war. Identity fraud, visa fraud, immigration fraud generally. And they're also taking people into custody, processing them and deporting them. I mean, is there anything that ICE isn't doing? So, despite the fact that I'm not really big into giving more money to federal programs because they seem to be ridiculous most of the time, and I'm not all, hashtag not all, because I put in an application at a particular government agency, not all, and they're currently reviewing it. So not all, but I'm not really in favor of giving endless money to government programs because that's how $1 trillion goes, a few $1 trillion goes missing in the Pentagon. But is there any more overworked agency than ICE at the moment? Can anyone name it? I don't really know. All right, so if you want to go read the full article, you can go read it to get the full skinny on what actually happened here. Because it's not super intricate about what kind of fraud it is, but it is crazy. It is fucking crazy. It's basically like scam schools and fake companies and Like, it's just all set up to get the Chinese people here. And like I say, don't go to fake colleges, don't go to fake companies. Get yourself a white man, and you can stay. Just don't be a fucking spy. Because then you're going back. We need to get some kind of, like, Chinese immigrant, like, investigation, private, investigative firm to look into Chinese newlyweds to make sure that they aren't spies. Okay, some of us have questions. So let me get to, let's see here. Dr. Sarcasm says, serious question, stealing a thought from Stefan Molyneux, would you convert or re-accept Christianity if it would help save the West? I mean, I don't know. Wouldn't that be dishonest? It just seems kind of dishonest. I mean, I could be more willing. Like, I was on Twitter the other day, like, sucking the dick of Christianity and lamenting about how atheism is basically dead. Like, people say God is dead. Basically, atheism is dead. And it's been replaced by fucking communism. So, I'm not really sure that I could go as far as basically reconverting to Christianity. Because to me, it's a simple question of, do I believe in God? And my answer is no, I just don't. It's not necessarily something that I would go as far to say, like, oh, if you believe, you're an idiot. It's just like, you know as much as I do. And if it is a yes or no, my answer is no. I've talked to people about it numerous times, and usually the fallback is, well, haven't you ever had, like, a spiritual moment in your life? And I've gotten that from a bunch of people, and I've always said no. My life has always been the material, and if that's what I have to go to in terms of my anecdote, then the conclusion that I come to in my thought process is no, and it's nothing more than that. But a decent question nonetheless. Zyklon, or that's not Zyklon, I think, says, been a while since I caught you live. What's up? Hashtag end Islam / hashtag outlaw communism. He also says follow up. Oh, no, never mind. Too many fucking people in a row with no avatars. Dylan98 says, what do you think of Douglas Murray being a neocon? Douglas Murray in many ways is a neocon in name only. I've never heard him really talk about foreign policy that isn't based around immigration. Party Alam Civi says, you're describing California too. I feel your pain. It's probably about what I'll talk about in New York. God Emperor says, Shoe on Head was doing a values test, and question came up, do you think your country's values should be spread to other places? And she said, what is that, like English? My head almost exploded. Yeah, she's not the smartest downstater. City Slickers are cancer, says no name. Cancer says, followed by Cancer, says, exactly right, my boss has told us he could replace us the Mexicans. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Zion says, communities need to stop tolerating the Muslims, illegals, and others causing problems, drive them out. I don't really know. I don't really see that happening. I mean, in New Jersey, apparently the blacks are trying to drive the Jews out of the area. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but that's apparently happening in Jersey City. The fucking blacks have a problem with the Jews overall. Because I listened to a video earlier where, like, I think it was Matt Christensen's podcast where, like, he played a clip of, like, some random black people in Jersey City, like, going off on Jews. It was like, holy shit. I don't get it. I don't understand. What's with you guys in the, like, Philly, New Jersey, New York area where, like, fuck the Jews. It's like, why? What are they doing? What even, are they driving up the property value? Like, what are the Jews even doing? They have such a problem with them. It's crazy. Oh, those Jews and their gentrification. Like, what the fuck are they doing? That's what I need. I need some black person who lives in Jersey, Philly, or fucking New York to be just explain to me like what just flat out what are the Jews doing? Like just tell me, what do you think they're doing? I saw some fucking tweet the other day where it was some black representative or something, and she was going off like, yeah, the Jews are organ harvesting black men. It's like, what the fuck? And apparently somebody said that is like a mainstream conspiracy on the for blacks. Like either whites or Jews are harvesting black organs. Like some crazy fucking conspiracy like that. It's like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's what's happening. I think 650 is what's fucking happening. Fro Katsy says, what is a groiper? It's spelled with a Y as well. It's a combination of paleo-conservatives and then all the way to the alt-right, I would say. Not trying to denigrate anyone, but the alt-right are definitely on board. But it doesn't mean that every position is alt-right, or the reasoning is always alt-right. But they're there. That's my explanation. Paleocon's the alt-right. Alice says, better dead than red, sure. The guest says, after college, they get you jobs in government and corporations. Yeah. If you're a leftist, sure. Tim says, the states have a lot of power to address some of it. A policy I've pushed has to deny state tuition funding for social services at university. Sure. That's true. That can be done at the state level, for sure. But there is federal money going into that. And especially when it comes to the loan program being nationalized, that's a big deal. And that's an easy fix. Drive-by commenter says, Trump plans to consolidate labor and education departments if reelected could play a part. Sure. I don't think it's as simple as the education department. It's spending from the government, which has to go through Congress. So he can not sign on to it, like he can do a deal that way, but I want congressional Republicans to fucking step up. And I'm not even sure who the fuck my congressman is at the moment, so I can't even write a letter. Etta Fox says, quit my job due to a trashy drunken boss, so I had to end my subs for now, but as Xmas, I thought I would give one of my favorite YouTubers a gift. Thank you, Etta Fox. Sorry you quit your job because you're your boss and all that. I don't think it's you that I'm referring to. It's just been about 10 people in like the last month or so that have stopped following me on Subscribestar, and so I'm looking at that like, ooh, I kind of need to address this because the numbers are starting to bleed. So I'll say it again, if you haven't already, go to my Subscribestar and follow me there. It could be as low as $1 a month all the way up to $50 a month, and you get to pick and choose what it is. And there's plenty of YouTubers who are already there, so if you want to support me for $1, you can support Sargon for $1, or Styx for $1, or anyone for $1. There's plenty of people over there you can support for $1. And I should be one of them, so go do that right now. Let's see here. Alex says, what about a job where you can work from home? Doesn't seem to have disadvantages from an office setting. I think that's woman in the workplace. Sure, that's fine, but even still, I think that would have some problems, but it's not really what we're talking about. How many jobs is that? Sephironath says, I'd say gynocentrism out of control. Too many. It's the bitch article. Too many going for too few top men while being massively entitled. Passed many women up because I saw this in them. Yeah, I would say that there was a couple girls in college that were attractive, but I had a chance and basically I walked away because one of them, I think I already talked about this already. One of them was in a study group, and she was just like attractive, but like a bitch. And I was like, you know what? Let's just let this go. I can't do a daily show. I'm still working, unfortunately, and I'm back to it. The job search was not necessarily in vain. I'm waiting. I actually got called up for a job that I had to turn down, and it was to be a cop. It was to be a sergeant. I actually got a call back from that. But the problem is that it would basically take me a year and a little bit longer to get everything that I would need to be a cop. And I basically said, like, is it a guarantee that I would get the job at the end of this? And he said no. I was like, all right, sorry, I got to turn this down. So if he could have guaranteed me that job, there's a decent chance that I would have been on my way to training to become a cop. And then maybe I would have had to start a cop channel. I'd have to start a cop channel at that point where all I talk about is policing. I don't know. See, the thing is about being a cop, could I do the job? Sure. Do I have the temperament to be a cop? I don't know. That to me is kind of the question. I can compose myself a lot better in real life, but when it comes to the stresses of being a cop, I don't really know if I have the correct temperament. Instead of donut operator, it's a lolly operator. Oh man. I could patrol thoughts 24/7. Well, yeah, that would be a part of the job. Yeah, well, no, I don't really know what high of a chance. Like, there was a cop in my area who works for the Buffalo PD, and I think he still does, who put up a joke video of him snorting coke, and he got put on administrative leave for like 3 days, and he still does it. He still does like stuff on his own YouTube channel. So I don't think that anything would come, because you got to remember, cops have a union, and the cop unions are a powerful union. So I don't think it, like, oh, news story, this guy looks at lowly online. Oh, it's like, I don't think so. I don't think so. Patrick says, I think you're downplaying porn's effects on society. I don't want it banned, but I think we can come up with a few government policies to curb its excesses and worst parts. Again, I think you're honestly exaggerating, not necessarily consumption, but like, oh, everyone's consuming like snuff films, essentially, like rape films. And it's like, that's fucking horseshit. That's fucking horseshit. Most men are consuming the most vanilla shit imaginable because that is the most popular shit. So you can spare me it's excessives. I don't really see you controlling it, and I don't really think you should, because the government examples of that are like examples of the UK where they just banned random shit. And I'm sorry, I'm not getting on board with that. I don't see a state solution to this that it's not just a disaster. I'm sorry, Patrick. Like, I can agree with you. Like, I already said it's a vice. But it's like, haven't you had enough of people banning shit? Like, I just can't get in line with people going like, yeah, we need to ban more things. It's like, listen, maybe let's start legalizing things before we start banning things. Like, maybe this is true. You live in a state where everything is perfectly up for grabs. But, dude, I live in New York, where I say it as a joke, but it's not really an exaggeration, where we ban more things than we sell. Like, I'm just not on board with the continuation of, like, let's have the state orchestrate fucking society when I don't think that works. Skellington says, watch Settler's Lament response to you. That might be who I was referencing earlier. I'm not sure of the name. Become a deist, Louis. Singleton Boltzmann brain that set the universe in motion by destroying the conditions that made it possible is #OneTrueGod. I don't know. rarely embrace like middling positions like that. I mean, the deist position, I would say, like, I don't know if there really is a single position around deism. But to me, theism is just a yes or no answer to a question, which is, do you believe that there is a God? And if the answer is yes, then you're a theist. Then it's just a determination of what God, in what way, etc., etc. And then there's no, in which the sensible answer is just no, and that's it. You know, it's nothing more than that. You can't prove it. You can't prove a negative in terms of that not existing, and you can't prove the positive because it's something that's so esoteric, so abstract that you could not possibly ever prove it to be true. And abnormalities, I don't think, are very convincing, which is usually the evidence that's given for examples, is just abnormalities. Nothing that's actually supernatural. Thoughts on the Virginia gun situation? Well, as far as I understand that, it's like the fucking Democrat governor in Virginia is in like some sort of standoff with the sheriff's departments throughout the state and like, red districts in the state, which is probably most of fucking Virginia. And now there's apparently militias forming because I'm not sure. Can someone in the chat say exactly what they're planning on doing? Is it the red flag laws? Like, what in Virginia are they doing to justify gun confiscation? What exactly are they doing? 2 more super chats. Porn bad isn't enough. Demand S3X monitoring chips in all citizens. Yeah, pretty much. Patrick says, Merry Christmas, Lib. Syrian OCPW report was altered. Oh, is that the gas thing? The gas report that says that they weren't gassed. Cops tread a thin line between protector and tyrant. I'm not a blanket trusting of police. West Coast cops are definitely in Antifa's pocket, from what it seems. You know what's amazing? I've seen a lot of fucking West Coast cops on like body cams. West Coast cops seem to do their job, but it seems like as though that they're basically just hip to the jive of the union and the officials. Like the chief of police says, don't arrest leftists, so the cops don't arrest leftists. The West Coast cops seem not incompetent, but they do seem corrupt. And I'm saying that in the way of looking the other way. And I'm sure there's plenty of examples on the East Coast where it's just as true. Where there's definitely examples of incompetence and corruption. But in general, I don't think that most cops are incompetent and corrupt. But I do think that they are savvy to the political situation. A lot are. And if they understand that they're going to get fucking basically put on administrative leave or they're going to risk losing their job because they arrest the wrong leftist, they're just going to look the other way. Lumberjack says, I family law enforcement. When you're on patrol makes all the difference. If you can't deal with children, then dealing with criminals is a no-go. They're similar, but they can hurt you. I mean, I have plenty of younger cousins. I can deal with children. It's just a matter of patience and having to repeat yourself a million fucking times. I would say that I'd be able to do a cop's job, but it would just be the stresses of the job that I'm not sure if I'd have the temperament for. Because it seems like certain cops, even if they can do the job well, it just builds up and then they explode. And I don't really know whether that would be me or not. I don't know. I've never had a stressful job in that way. Yeah, Andrew Johnson in the chat, half of a cop's job is politics. Yeah, from what it seems more and more today. But the thing is as well is that, like, even though cops still to this day bitch about body cams, like, I think body cams are great. Body cams, like, are I can't imagine that in the modern day shooting justifications that body cams are 98% of the evidence used. Like, half of body cams, despite the fact that they're grainy and shitty, it's like you could still see, like, yep, there's the barrel of the gun. Yep, there's the butt of the gun. Yep, there's him reaching in his waistline. Yep, there's him swinging the pipe. Like, 90% of body cams are, yep, there's the justification for the shooting. And it's like, well, there you go. The diversity hires might be a problem with policing. There seems to be a lot of female officers that can't cut it. There seems to be quite a few female cops that can't fucking cut it. I will say that. There's been some bad body cam footage that I've seen when it comes to female officers. Some female officers, when it comes to shootings, have been pretty good. But when it comes to, like, okay, it's a female officer, time to go hands-on, make the arrest. Oh, man. There are some bad body cams out there. And unfortunately for today, I don't have any good body cam footage to show you guys, so not today. But yeah, how long are we going? 2 hours, 30 minutes? All right. Let me check Twitter real quick, just in case somebody sent me something over there. And I'll get a new image, but I'll also grab subscribe star link. Ooh, let me find. Yep. Actually, if you type in Louis on Subscribestar, I'm the first result. At least on my browser, anyway. So go subscribe. Head on over to my Subscribestar account and subscribe to me there. I want to get my numbers back up. I appreciate your support, and this has been a great stream. Been a lot of people supporting me, and I always appreciate support. And I know that this is not the greatest time of year to ask for it, but I'm doing so nonetheless because I'm tired of my numbers going down. I want to see my numbers go up. And I've had a lot of new recent subscribers and all that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm glad to see my numbers of views and subs, and everything's going good. But this one aspect is bothering me. It's gone down. I want it to go back up. It needs to go along with all my recent numbers. I need to go back up. So let me check the twatter. Let me get an image first. Oops. What's another good example of an image? Nah. What's another good image? I know there's one on here somewhere. No, I retweeted earlier. Oh! It is just inescapable. It is just inescapable. I swear to God. What's her name? Cruel Tempes? I forget the name of the character. It's so common. Man, look at the hips. Jesus Christ. Look at those thick fucking hips. The thigh, I should say. Basinski says, women cops, social Darwinism in action, spicy. It's not. It's just a clusterfuck. It's like, women, we're just a sexually dimorphic species, and when they're dealing with a fucking dude, they just don't have the fucking weight and the muscle mass to deal with them. It's simple as that. I've seen some good videos of women shooting, and also some bad videos of women shooting. But the ones where they go hands-on are always terrible. Anyways, let me get back to Twitter. I was going to check replies. Patrick apparently made a thread defending, what's his face? Oh, is it a thread of people defending Paul Singer? I'll put this on screen, I guess. Blue check mark. Bill Crystal defending Singer. Whoever this guy is. David Frum. Yar Rosenberg. Barry Weiss. Who's David Icke? Elizabeth Pacino. Lachlan Markey. Okay, so this is from probably earlier in the month when he was calling out Singer, who's like one of the biggest donors of the GOP and is like an internationalist and all that. We got a super chat. I looked into 650. Even in the 50s, it was the same. Why would fixing the family solve the problem if they had better marriage rates back then? I don't think that's actually true. I would have to look into that myself. I don't think that's true. The statistics in terms of 650, I'd have to go back. It was probably, I'd be willing to say it may have been disproportionate back then, but I don't think it was 650 then. 650, as far as I can tell, is fairly modern. And it's pretty much been true, I think, since, like, if I recall correctly, the 70s, the 80s, like, somewhere around there is 650. But if you say, like, if you're saying, like, 625, yeah, that's obviously disproportionate. But if you mean 650 specifically, that's fairly modern, as far as I'm aware. Let me get back and see if there's anything else. No, that was about it. Okay. The guest says, cops' jobs are too important to let politics interfere. If you put politics and your boss's orders above public safety, you're a tyrant and enemy to society. I'm not, I think you're being a little hyperbolic, but I don't disagree. I mean, the problem is that a lot of cops are afraid to stick their neck out, because even if they are unionized, the police chiefs and the powers that be ultimately have full authority to fucking fire them. And the union guys, the higher-ups in them, are all buddy-buddy with the fucking police chiefs and all that anyways, in large part. The only time where that's not true are examples in, like, New York City, where cops are getting fucking routinely assassinated and are killing themselves on, at record numbers. Like, only in places like New York City are the cop unions basically going crazy and, like, publicly disavowing the politicians. And I'm surprised they haven't gone as far as calling out the police chiefs, because they are the political appointments of the mayor. But there is basically the thin blue line, and among that is the kind of, like, the corruption that exists within an organization that has, like, its own internal culture and is looking out for itself as an entity. And the cops absolutely have that. And it's unfortunate, because they do carry a lot of authority and can misuse it and can get away with misusing it. But I would still say that my experience is that most cops I've ever interacted with have been good cops. They have not been corrupt. They have not been incompetent. I have interacted with asshole cops and incompetent cops, but they're not the majority. And I think that with policing in general, it could always be better, and it should be better. But I think that where it's inappropriate is in typically urban settings, and it's usually the upper echelon where it's the problem. It's examples like that fucking police chief or whoever the fuck it was the other day going out being like, oh, guns, 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 we need to confiscate the fucking guns. And it's like, for fuck's sake, dude, like, of all people that should know the statistics around fucking firearm usage, spare me the bullshit about confiscation and all my guns. It's like, you know that this is about illegal firearms, and you can suck my dick all day, because 650 is true today, and it's gonna be true tomorrow. And where the fuck are you about that? Let's hear a conversation from a police chief about black fatherhood, about black boys growing up with no fathers. How about that? Let's talk about that shit before we get into, fuck the Second Amendment, give me your guns. Spare me. Women cops and firefighters are going to get people killed. Well, I'll definitely agree with firefighters. That, to me, if you were to ask me, should we ban female firefighters, I'll straight up say yes. Because being a firefighter is an extremely fucking physical job. I know that from interviewing firefighters when it comes to comp cases and that sort of thing, they're almost always legitimate. Firefighters, when they get fucking injured, bro, they get fucking massacred. So being a firefighter, it is an extremely physical job. And I don't think there should be female firefighters. Because if I'm injured and I need some fucking dude to carry my ass out of here, it ain't going to be no woman doing it. And I'm not that big of a guy. All right? 5'10", fucking 165 pounds, 170. No woman's carrying my ass out of here. So, nah, man. Like, I agree with you specifically about firefighters. And women cops, it's hit or miss. There is truth to that. But firefighters, man, that should be straight up like a no-go zone. That should be prohibited. Because the fact is that we're a sexually dimorphic species and that women can't carry the fucking load. I got into a debate with this about my father because of his union, and a video that I might wind up doing, but I haven't really plotted out exactly yet, about gender quotas and that. And I basically got him on it where I say, like, I got him to admit that half the time women can't do the work. And he says, well, we just have them do other work. And it's like, well, how the fuck is that fair for the guy you're turning down on the job? And I said, I got mad at him. Like, I remember when you were talking about getting turned down on jobs. Like, you got, you know, you went to the fucking union hall and were looking on a list to see if that you were brought onto the contract and you weren't. I said to him, how many women got brought onto those contracts where you were left out when you could have carried your own and done the fucking job better than her in every single way possible, and yet she's put on there to fucking do some light work as if she's on disability because she simply can't do the work. How the fuck is that fair? And my father basically said in return that, you know, and I said the statistics to him that 1% of electricians are women. 1%. And everything else is fudging of numbers. It's bullshit. It's administrative. It's lawyers, accountants, administrative people, secretaries. It's bullshit. And the reason for the quotas is, in defense of the unions, is for government contracts. The governments basically have like 6 ways from Sunday to fuck over the unions to say, we're not going to give you this contract because you don't have enough blacks, you don't have enough women, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't qualify for this. So the unions basically have to scramble to find people to fit quotas. So they can say, no, we meet this federal guideline, we meet this state guideline, we meet this, we got that, we got this, we have this. It's just to get the contracts. And so people can give shit to the unions. It's the states and all of their fucking ridiculous requirements that are the reasons for the quotas. My father sounds incredibly blue-pilled. My father, I'm not sure if I would say that he's necessarily blue-pilled. I think he does lie. He lies about his politics. Like, I was talking to him about the unions, and I basically started talking about Trump, and he was like, oh, you know, Trump, he's like Mr. Democrat still. And I basically started talking about immigration. He's like, oh, well, I don't give a fuck about immigration, you know, like, you know, he's basically saying, like, you know, I'll build the fucking wall. And I'm like, see, there you go. You're so full of shit. Like, you're always like, oh, you know, we need this and that. And I'm like, and then it's like at the same time, he's going to turn around and be like, yeah, you know, ship them all out. They're not sitting their best. The 10 walls getting 10 foot higher, and I'm going to be the one putting the electrical lines on it. It's like, yeah, give me this. Spare me your bullshit. I just think my father is, in some ways, politically correct, and he has a small amount of Trump derangement syndrome. I think that's his issue, is he has some level of TDS, and he is partisan in some ways. And he wants to toe the line of being Mr. Politically Correct when he wants to, but he's so full of fucking shit on so many levels when it comes to it. Like, if you call him on it, he's so full of shit. Boomercrat is definitely correct. He'll cape and he'll white knight. He'll tip his fedora, but behind the scenes, bro, He's your average fucking bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I know my father and I know his friends, and his friends many of them are Democrats, but when it comes to like all the politically correct things, they're so full of shit. They are chauvinists. They are sexist. They do have some opinions on the blacks and so on. They're just full of shit. No, he won't vote for Bernie. Back in 2016, he supported Hillary, and my mother and I were more supportive of Bernie. And both my mother and I voted for him in the primary for New York. I'm not really sure how much my mother thinks of Hillary Clinton. I think she just thinks she's corrupt. But what's amazing, I already said it in the last stream, that my mother is basically, she's still a Democrat and everything. She's straight up, she said to my father and I, and it surprised me, she just straight up said, like, I'm supporting Trump, I'm going to vote for Trump. I was like, holy shit. Woman who has voted Democrat her entire fucking life is basically donning the red-pilled boomer, donning the MAGA cap, and is going to vote Trump, Republican for the first time in her fucking life. I'm probably more like my mother, to be honest. My father and I, we share some similarities, but in terms of my mother and I, in terms of like our outlook on many things, there's a certain kind of practical politics that we have, and also our temperament, and the fact that we're both very excitable and talkative and that sort of thing. I probably share more in common with my mother in that regard, but I do share certain things with my father as well. Did I miss a super chat? Oh, no, I didn't. That was the blue-pilled one. All right. Well, are we winding this down? Is this stream dead? Or has someone got another topic? I'll get a new image. I saw people in the chat complaining about Tempe's here. Another image just popped up. Let's see here. I'll scroll back a couple days and find one. Here, I guess is this an elf eating some sort of eggs, or not eggs, rice and dumplings? Eggs. No, we don't have any footage to do a justified shooting stream. I haven't watched any anime in years. No Name, sorry. Evangelist says the Native American Reservation commentary. I don't even recall what I was going to say about that. Unfortunately, I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. Unfortunately, I'm kind of backlogged right now when it comes to commentaries. I have things I gotta do, and unfortunately, I just haven't gotten around to doing them. Hauser Big says, from what I've read, some BLM are anti-body cam now. Yes, that is true. I have seen that. And female cops and firefighters are sketchy. I would say firefighters are far more sketchy than fucking cops. Because cops, on some level, you can do the job. But with firefighters, just based on my anecdotal experience of interviewing former firefighters, no fucking way, dude. They can't do the fucking job. I do agree Opie Loli is shit. I'm going to approve that comment there, Coconut Tackle. How hard is it to start a business in New York? I can't really speak to starting a business, but I know that basically going through all the loops of the fucking red tape. Like, if you're going to set up a bona fide fucking business, that is probably a hassle and a half. Because I think a friend of my father's is a landscaper, like owns his own business, and all he does is complain about all the shit he has to do as it relates to the state. So As far as I know, it is somewhat complicated. Evangelist says rewatch Progressive Pipelines. Isn't that a video I did? Oh, yeah, that is a video I did on the res. Yeah, I mean, if you want to see a video I did on the res, go watch that one. It doesn't deal with the res in particular, but it deals with the water issue and that, and people talking about the res. So yeah, that's a good suggestion by the commenter. By Evangelist there, thank you. Caleb didn't say any comment, just gave me $2. Thanks for the $2. It's what's my take on Buffalo? What do you mean? I don't like it. I don't like spending time there. It's not a very nice place in large parts. There's parts of it that are very nice, but a lot of it that isn't. All the SJWs in my area are basically centralized there. I know that. Just search up cop videos? Nah, I'm not going to do that. That takes too much time. I'll get to 3 hours and then we'll cut it off. What are my thoughts on the MTA? What do you mean MTA? MTA? Metropolitan Transportation Authority? I don't live in New York City. It's probably corrupt. That's my opinion of the MTA. It's probably corrupt. There, Tomo-kun. No Name says, will the urban-rural divide destroy America? I would say that that's basically how it's viewed, but I don't really think that that is the divide. I think it's just a divide of what happened in the UK. It's ultimately the same thing. It's internationalism versus nationalism. Because there's plenty of, like, people on the right that live in rural parts of America that are fucking internationalist pieces of shit that coincide in every way with people that are in inner cities that believe the same shit. I just think it's said as the urban-rural divide, but I don't really think that is the divide. It's basically internationalists and people that hate the country, as it was in the UK. That's what composes Labour. People that hate the country of the UK and internationalists of the left-wing variety. In the United States, it's the same fucking deal. Neoliberals, internationalists, which same thing really, and socialists. People that hate the fucking country. So what's the solution? Well, maybe we can start with the education programs that are churning them out by the tune of tens of thousands a year. Maybe that. Lumberjack, again, asks, very, very inquisitive there, Lumberjack. Thank you. How about the hypocrisy of environmental activists, like how they want to protect wildlife but leave trash everywhere? That's actually part, I think I mentioned that in Progressive Pipelines, because that's one of the things they did at that one pipeline, which I don't even remember the name of. It was big under Obama. They trashed the place as well. But I don't even think that, to me, that's not even the main hypocrisy of it. The main issue, like, it is a hypocrisy, you're all right. But the thing I can't stand is, one, the fact that Asia and Africa is just, it is the source of most of the world's pollution, by far. People talk about plastics in the water. Bro, that's fucking Africa and Asia. That's not the United States in any way, shape, or form. That's Asia and Africa. There's entire rivers of fucking trash that float into the fucking ocean. That's them, it's not us. So shut the fuck up, go over there and do some activism. But that aside, the thing I can't stand, especially as it relates to energy, which is in part the pipeline, is these people don't have any kind of solution to the fact that we need fuel. We need cheap fuel. We need natural gas. My house is practically fueled. Like the heat that's currently on, you might be able to hear it in the background. It's gas. It's cheap as fuck. It's cheaper than electric. That's just a fact of the fucking matter. It's more expensive to light my home or heat my home with electric than it is to just have gas, burn it in my fucking furnace, and then have heat that way. It's simply cheaper. And when you don't have a fucking any kind of like, even if you just went with electric, it's not an equitable comparison. It is simply less effective and more expensive. That's just the fact of the matter. There is no replacement for fossil fuels. There is no replacement for gas. There is no replacement gas, whether it's gasoline or natural gas or oil. There is no fucking replacement. The fact is that it's cheaper, and as far as I can tell, it's not the main contributor of what's going on in the world that's going wrong. The fuels that are being pumped out in fucking China, it's not, as far as I know, it's not even CO2 that's destroying the environment of that area. It's something else. So shut the fuck up about CO2. What the fuck does it matter the CO2 levels when that's not the chemical that's the problem that's coming out of China? Stop talking about plastics in the United States when it's plastics in the third fucking world that's the problem. They don't have door-to-door recycling. We do. If you want to have some sort of like Tidy America program that the government sponsors, fine. I'm fine with that. I recycle as well. I turn in my cans for, nickels at the fucking, supermarket, and I recycle on a bi-weekly basis. The average person fucking does that. The average person is in some way environmentally conscious, and you don't give them any fucking credit for it. It's just insufferable. These people are insufferable, and they don't have any replacement for the systems we have in place. That's just a fact of the fucking matter. Is Buffalo still full of Irish, Polish, and black gangs? My dad grew up in Buffalo, and he told me the areas. There are no Irish gangs. There are more closed Irish pubs than there are Irish people in fucking Buffalo. The Polish people in the area are all over the place. They're all upper middle class, and they're all equally insufferable. There's plenty of Polish people in and around Buffalo, but it's mostly in like Amherst and wealthier parts, and they're all insufferable. And yes, there are still black gangs. That's kind of a rhetorical question. And I wouldn't be surprised if your dad grew up here and moved the fuck out, because he's probably like half the fucking population of the area. But thanks for the question anyways. And things have not really changed enough to come back. So if you have something to tell was it your father? Yeah, if you have something to tell your dad, tell him that Buffalo hasn't changed much. What's wrong with the Polish? They're annoying. I'm not talking about the Polish. I mean Polish people that are like fourth generation in the United States. They're fucking annoying. They're like Puerto Ricans. There you go. There's a comparison you can have. They're like Puerto Ricans, except they have money. Can you speak on gangs? 1350 isn't just 650. Black communities are fucked, but they are... Yeah. Well, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to tell you? I'm not saying that, there aren't good black people. I don't think I've ever said that. And I think I've spent enough time giving caveats and all the rest of it. I mean, half the people that are patrolling black neighborhoods for crime are black cops, so what do you want me to say? There's plenty of black activists and people that are trying to do good. The problem is that it's just a matter of, like, unfortunately, you got to get rid of all the fucking welfare programs. I think that's really pretty much what you got to do. If you gave me the power, I would get rid of Section 8 housing tomorrow. I'd get rid of food stamps tomorrow. I'd get rid of all the systems that have been created that are specific to children but are abused by parents. I'd get rid of all of them. My answer would be basically as rough as it could be, because I think that's the only solution. Because as these systems have been created and implemented, just one after another, things have only gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. QWERTY says, how do you feel about Jacob Hornberger? He is the new Libertarian Party nominee. He also opinions on Dave Smith, POTP. Do you think the Libertarian Party has a chance if we have another Ron? Well, obviously it has another chance if it has another Ron Paul. Cozy Stream, keep it going, friend. Merry Christmas to you there, QWERTY. I can't speak to Jacob Hornberger. I'm not aware of him. I'd have to look to see what he has to say. I mean, if he's similar to Ron Paul, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, if the Libertarian Party ever had like another Ron Paul, like another well-spoken, articulate, idealist sort of candidate, I'm sure they can have like a real comeback. The problem is that they're gonna have to kick out all the fucking idiot leftists in the party that are making it really weird. Well, the ANCAP, I mean, the thing is, would I rather have a hippie libertarian, or like a degenerate libertarian? I guess, or is really a difference? I don't know. I've always had problems with libertarians. I've never really been wholly on board. I've never called myself that, and I've never really associated myself with it outside of being a cultural libertarian, which I think is accurate. Libertarians have always been like I think they've finally gotten over their issues with the ANCAPs. I think they've finally been able to shut the fucking ANCAPs up. So that's good. That's something they desperately needed to do. But unfortunately, they've been in disarray for a few years, as far as I've been aware. Hold on, I'm getting mixed up on my super chats here. Lumberjack says, ever heard of the reason India allows trash in major river? They say it's sacred. What the fuck? They say it's sacred and purifies it. Mind you, they dump industrial waste there. People drink from it. Yeah, I can believe that. They put ashes of people in rivers. Well, I guess that's what you get when you live in a fucking third world nation. How do you fucking purify trash? Are you serious? What a backward shithole. The British were stupid to give it up. Should have just cracked down on it another time. Correct. Tell me I'm wrong. The best parts of India came from Britain. Convince me otherwise. Change my mind. The best parts of India came from Britain. Caleb says, black people need a culture. We don't have that. I guess, I mean, they do have a culture. It just has a lot of problems. And it is divergent from white culture or American culture, you could say. There are, like, interminglings where it does interweave in some ways. Like comedy, sports. There's a few ways in which black culture, like, interweaves with the rest of America. But the problem is, there's a decent amount of black culture that's just terrible. And it's usually based around like crazy ideology where it's a problem. The Moors, the black Israel or Hebrew Israelites, the black nationalists, the black supremacists, the separatists, like some of the more religious fanatic types. Like, unfortunately, people make a big deal about like gangster culture. It's like gangster culture is one thing. There's a whole other side of like the ideological part of it that's fucking crazy. And unfortunately, it's just terrible. And I'm unsure like what we can really do about it. Yeah, black culture is an American subculture, but it is a culture. If you're black, then it is the culture. Even if you don't agree with it, like, talk to anybody that's black. I know this for a fact. You are pressured to be black. And to be black is to basically act like a fucking retard, in large part. Not always, but in large part. Talk like a fucking retard, act like a fucking retard, make retarded decisions. It isn't all negative. There is such a thing as like black humor. That's not like macabre humor. It's just black humor. And that's pretty good. I think there's a good side to that, but it's unfortunately, it's just like when you are pressured to act black, it's basically to make stupid choices. For example, somebody asked me a while ago, I don't remember if this, I think it was in real life. I think I was at it wasn't Philadelphia. Maybe it was New York. It was a foreigner, and they were there to see Sargon, and they asked me, why do black people resist arrest? And I said, at first I said, I don't know. And then I said, you know what? No, it's not I don't know. It's because it's part of black culture. It's this weird part of black culture where it's something women do. It's something like, it's when you hear black people argue, they just make the same point. They'll say the same thing over and over and over. They repeat themselves over and over and over. That's a black thing. And it's a black woman thing, to be particular. It's a certain kind of culture of petty, not obstruction. What would be the right word? Somebody in the chat shouted out, what do you think the right word is? It's not necessarily like a general kind of resistance, or obstruction. What's a better word for it, chat? Bullheadedness is a good. Defiance is a good one. Defiance, bullheadedness. Machismo, I don't think is correct. It's feminine. Obstinance, that's another good one. And it is seeping into white culture or American culture. Stubbornness is another good word. Egotism is a good one. Yeah. Obstinance is a good word for it, yeah. Obtuse is correct as well. Although I think obstinance is probably more accurate to the word. Pettiness is correct. Confrontational is correct. Belligerent is correct. Ignorance is correct. I think that is one of the major components to black culture that is incredibly destructive. Because you remember that video I showed you the last time around where that guy was like getting arrested and his white fat girlfriend was like, "Oh, I love you," and he was like resisting, like, "Fuck you, pigs," blah blah blah. That's what. It's what it's coming from. It's obstinance coming from what he's been taught by his mother and what he's learned from observing others around him. He thinks that it's more manly of him to resist being arrested, even though it's embarrassing. The cops are basically looking at him and asking him, "What is wrong with you?" Because he looks like a fucking retard. He just looks like a fucking retard who's having a tantrum, like a 30-year-old man who has like a fucking 40 IQ, who's going like screaming. It's like. Someone goes like, "What the fuck is wrong with this retard?" And it's like, well, he actually is retarded. And it's like, oh, sorry. But in this case, it's just he's black and he's brought up by a single mom. Same deal. He acts like a fucking retard. So if you were to ask me, and I've heard this from a black person, so I know it's true. Somebody just said it in the chat. I know it's true. Black culture is matriarchal. I have heard this from the horse's mouth. I have heard this from people that I know that are black. At least one person who I've spoken to at length about black culture. He has said that black culture is matriarchal. And naturally, pretty much comes from when like fucking 67% of children are born out of wedlock and a ridiculous disproportion that don't have fathers. So, yeah. That's unfortunately the situation of black culture, and I think that fuck you figuring out touching my rubber bands. That's a good reference to it. It's unfortunate that again, it's just not going to be addressed. Like I've heard black guys confront that. I've heard black guys just call that out. There's black YouTubers that will just flat out say things as they are and speak to that effect, and with far greater authority than I can, being white. And growing up lower middle class in a majority white neighborhood, majority white schools, all the rest. But I went to nearly minority majority black college, so fuck you, I have some say-so in this. I have some authority. I have some credentials that I can lay down. Shit. Oh, God, dude, I'm getting all fucked up with the super chats here. Caleb says, you're right, I should have said better culture. And I agree. I think black culture is generally worse, it's more negative than it is positive. There are positive aspects of black culture. Like, I don't think rap is necessarily that bad. I think that you can be talented and creative and make good rap. I think that black comedy is generally good. It can be derivative and boring, but I mean, like, when you say that, like, I don't really think I've seen many white people say that black comedy is bad or, like, immoral or whatever, like they do with rap. But, like, you have to keep in mind that, like, a lot of some of the biggest names in American comedy are black comedians. Not just that they are black comedians in their skin pigmentation, but they are engaging in what is black comedy. And Dave Chappelle is one of those people, and you're never going to get me to disavow him unless he starts apologizing or something or cucking out. And so far, you know, even with his millions, he doesn't give a fuck. All right, what was the next super chat? Troy says, I'm trying to start my journey into formalized written philosophy. Are there any analogies of early Western philosophy that you can give a recommendation for? Nah, not really. Not really. I've given book recommendations in the past, but I don't think that there's nothing that I can give specifically that wouldn't be just standard. Like, you can find a listicle. Just go look it up, dude. Western philosophers listicle, and they'll give you all the ones that I could give you. It's not there. It's a lot less complex as you would think. The only the complexity to it is actually getting through the Byzantine fucking ramblings of half the people, because most of them are hard reads. Probably unrelated. I'm 3 hours behind, but I'm amazed at how many times you've said the gamer word and you've not gotten banned off of the internet. Yeah, I've said. I assume you mean the N word. What's its incensed gamer moments, whatever it is. Whatever the phrase is from PewDiePie. It doesn't, I don't really know if that's the thing that gets you banned off of YouTube, because there's plenty of, like, white nationalist types that have been banned off of YouTube, and they don't use the word. They're not running around, most of them anyways, they're not running around, saying nigger, but I do on occasion, and, it's just, you know what, let me get on Twitter real quick, and I'll get a... What's funny is I started to see the Joker "you get what you fucking deserve" memes going around now. It's still not out on DVD and, digital yet. I'm waiting for it. But the memes are still coming out, and it's so fucking hilarious. Okay. Oh, no. Shit. Hold on. I want to find a better photo. Give me a second here. I want to post a meme on Twitter. Oh, here it is, right here. This is it. This is the meme. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me get down here real quick. Move this over. I gotta find... Because earlier in the week, was it on the 16th, so yesterday I tweeted, how long can it really be until the next time I say the N-word? And... Okay, so I'll put this on screen. I know it's kind of lame to laugh at your own jokes, but I said on Twitter, oh, hold on, how long can it really be until the next time that I say the N-word? And my follow-up tweet from today is, I lasted 1 day with this picture. I know it's kind of lame to laugh at your own jokes, but I think this is funny. Anyways, where was I in the super chats? Let's see here. Mr. T Pity the Fool says Lumberjack. Thank you, Lumberjack. So when you catch up in 3 hours, you can see your super chat. Man, it's funny, like, the amount of people watching this has gone down as time has gone on, but, like, the number of super chats and the actual activity is, like, spiked now that I've stopped reading articles. So is there anything else that people want to comment on or that they want me to comment about? Anything else before I go? No black lolies. I'm not. Are there very many black lolies? I think there was a black loli in Kill la Kill. I might be wrong about that. Does the UK have a chance to survive? If it has, if the Conservative Party has a Groyper rebellion, yes. That would be my opinion. That's what they need. Because I think that even though, like I said with the Groypers, like, it goes into territory that I don't like. But, I do think it's healthy. Because I think it's not just funny to watch these people squirm, but it forces them to say what their fucking positions are and why. Like, what are their real positions and why? And I think that's the best part of it. So that's what the UK needs, is for the Conservative Party, they have the Groypers storm in and just start asking fucking hard questions. And the next time that fucking Boris Johnson goes before Parliament and starts going, oh, diversity is our strength, blah, 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 it's like, okay, well, then, in the same breath that you're condemning a terror attack on London Bridge, it's like, what the fuck? You know, it's just, like, that's the kind of shit they should be called out for. You know what I mean? All the Tories agree on is fuck the poor. Maybe. They don't really seem too gung-ho to get rid of the fucking public programs there. They're talking about putting billions of dollars into the NHS. It's laughable to me that they think they're going to privatize it. What are my predictions in the 2020 elections? I have to look at the numbers for the congressional seats to give you a good idea. The Senate's a lock. There's nothing happening in the Senate. It's staying Republican. The House, I'd have to look to see what seats are up. And the presidency right now, it's a lock for Trump. It's his race to lose ultimately. Things could change, but I'd be amazed at this point. If it were held today, I'd be amazed if he fucking lost. It would be just as shocking of when he won in the first place for me. The Wooster says, why would anyone name their movement the Groypers? What with the current sexual harassment climates? It's not Gropers. That's what I called them in a stream, I think, as a joke. Seems like a PR nightmare to me. I didn't name them. As far as I know, like 4chan named them or whatever. I have no idea where the fucking name comes from. No, see, Abaddon in the chat says they need to get rid of the NHS. I think if you were to ask me what is the top of the list to get rid of in the UK, and I don't give a fuck, like, I will go to the UK, I will go to, Sargon hosted an event there, I go there, I don't care if I get booted out of the country or whatever for this. They're what they call council houses, which is Section 8 housing, public housing. it's ubiquitous in the country, and it's like I have no earthly idea why they think on any level, anyone, and they all seem to. They think that's a good idea. We need to build more council housing. It's like not only is it a scam, but like why would you want to build more housing for poor people? Why? I mean, like, that's why we have contractors in the United States. Like, in the United States, we have a glut of housing. We have more housing than we know what to do with. And as far as I can tell, housing as an industry is on a bubble that's just waiting to burst at some point because the housing values are out of control throughout the nation. And, well, not in every part of the nation, but in large part. And there's more houses than there are people that need to live in them. In the UK, it's the opposite, and it's like, well, we need to build more public housing. It's like, fucking why? Why the fuck? Like, all that's going to do is pump up the prices even fucking more. What you need to do in the UK is privatize all council housing. Privatize the entire housing industry. The fact that you think that public housing is a good idea it just shows you the rot of socialism in the UK. That you think that anyone's going to give a shit about their public housing. That people are going to take care of their public housing. No one takes care of a house if it's given to them. People take care of it if they bought it. If it's theirs. If they own it. If it's their property. They'll treat it like dog shit. And it'll destroy it. If it is public. Like it is with everything. They treat houses like they do public bathrooms. The fact that anyone thinks it's a good idea just shows you how much rot there is in terms of people and socialism. I mean, nationalize electricity, nationalize the railways, nationalize this and that, like whatever. But nationalizing housing, it's like I just don't get it. I legitimately like of everything that should be private, of anything that should be private rather. Wouldn't you think it'd be housing? Of anything. It's like nationalizing television production or fucking car production. It's Soviet. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I legitimately don't understand public housing and anyone that advocates for it. I advocate buying a fucking house. It's not that difficult. If my retarded ass can do it, you can't? Are you serious? You qualify for fucking disability then? Lumberjack says, when do you think Congress will get on the get rid of the MS-13 bandwagon? Measures can be taken. What can we do about California falling apart? I don't know there's much that we can do, but we can make California fall apart faster. That is something Congress can do through a variety of methods. Like basically what does California produce? Put a tariff on it for exports. What federal aid does California need? Cut that. Like there are plenty of ways in which Congress and Republicans and conservatives can fuck California. But in ways to solve California, dude, Californians aren't solving California. They're moving out of California. You know, they're just leaving. So I don't think there is really anything to fix California. In terms of getting rid of MS-13, I mean, so long as they're a problem and they're going crazy in Mexico and, you know, in part in the United States, it's pretty much going to be what it is. It's going to be around. Whether it's the actual issue itself or as a talking point, it's just going to stay up until it stops being an issue. Do I see a potential military conflict with the U.S. and China in the clown decade? Not really. It would be, I mean, maybe like some sort of Cold War-esque incident. I could see a military incident happening. But a conflict? I mean, it would have to be a proxy, and I don't know. It would be so out of the blue. It would be like China takes over fucking the Congo, and then America intervenes there or some shit. Like, that would be the only way in which I could see anything like that happening, you know. Anything else here? Got a lot of fucking super chats here at the end. It's kind of crazy. I don't know why, but I'm going to put this back on screen. I just find this to be the funniest fucking photo. I don't know why. I love this movie so much. I'm telling you, the minute this fucking movie comes out for digital sale, there are going to be so many great fucking memes. Oh my god, this is easily the best movie of the fucking year. I almost went to the theater again to see it again. I almost saw it twice, which I never do. Oh man, I cannot fucking wait for that to hit digital. It's gonna be so fucking funny. Baczynski says, lately have gone through a slump. All my social circle have become insane, deranged progressives, and when I make a case for actual principles of freedom of speech, making jokes, etc., it's met with hatred. Well, unfortunately, Baczynski, you're just going to have to, be a social butterfly and try to reach out, or not bring up politics. Like, if people bring up stupid shit, and you feel no choice but to respond, then do so, but I wouldn't necessarily get political with your friends if they're not very political. And ultimately, unfortunately, the way things are, politics can, come between friends, and, things aren't always meant to be. You might have to find friends elsewhere and that sort of thing. Sorry to hear that, but it is the way things are. Just don't exacerbate the problem in your own right, I mean. It does deserve an Oscar. Did the Oscars happen yet? Let me look that up. No, it's happening February 9th, 2020. And I believe Joker is nominated. Let me see. Yeah, it's what is it? What is it nominated for? The
Joker movie.
Fuck off. It's I got 4 nominations at the Golden Globes, and the Oscars. What is it? What the fuck? It doesn't say. It doesn't say what the categories are. Let me see here. Best performance, no. Documentary. Okay, it's makeup and styling and hairstyling, which is a lame category. Music. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Wow, that's fucking stupid. Yeah, I think that's it. That's fucking stupid. I don't know if all the nominations... I don't know if there's going to be more nominations for Joker for the Oscars, but it definitely deserves more than that for fucking makeup and hairstyling. That's stupid. Let me click another article here. And this is oh no, this is from October. Maybe they haven't nominated for other categories yet, but I'd be surprised if there aren't, like, you know, lead role, like, best film, best director. Like, best director, I would definitely say is one Todd Phillips fucking deserves. To go from making, like, fucking Old School and, like, The Hangover and shit to making this movie, bro. The movie's not perfect, but I still think he deserves some kind of awards for that. That's definitely a category switch or a genre switch that he deserves credit for. You think it's already out digitally? Let me see. Oh, you're right. Holy shit. Oh, shit.
Arthur, does it help to have someone to talk to?
It's out now. It's out now. Holy shit. When did this happen? When did this come out? Yep, you can buy it. Oh, man, I'm going to have to buy it. I'm going to have to buy it. Just for that end scene, dude. It happened today? Wow, talk about coincidences. Oh man, I can't wait. I mean, maybe I'll do like a follow-up review. I did do a review of it, didn't I? I did. I might have to do a follow-up, seeing the movie for a second time. Dude, like I said, dude, I want to see a fucking director's cut so bad. I want to see a director's cut so fucking bad because there's tons of scenes that they apparently left on the cutting room floor. Bro, put that shit back in. Let Todd do the editing. Let's see Todd's version of this fucking movie. Yeah. I'll definitely have to watch that again when I have the time. I'm going to be busy. Tomorrow, I'll probably have some time tomorrow. I got to work tomorrow in the afternoon. It's going to be shit. But yeah, I might, maybe I'll have time tomorrow to look at it. Are you talking to me? No, I don't know. I don't get the reference in the chat. Snyder cut of Joker? Fuck off. Snyder cut? Fucking, ugh. I didn't know you had a history with Rai Marasame. I only know yet from Academic Agent's channel. She is legit the most terrible person I've ever heard. I don't really have much of a history with that person on Twitter, but he or she is just the most ridiculous, deluded fucking internationalist I've ever heard of. Like, I've had a couple back and forths with them over the years, and if I was smart, I'd just block them so I'd stop seeing their stupid shit. But they're just a deluded internationalist, and I don't really know if I have much more to say of it than that. But thanks for the $5 to bring up that random Twitter rando. Random-ass person with like 200 followers on fucking Twitter. Thanks for the $5, I guess. I'm sorry if you wanted me to go into it more than that. I don't really have a history. I just, like, respond to them a couple times over the years, and it's because they're fucking crazy. Oh, that fucking Twitter. Alright, so put it to the chat. Are we ready to end this? Is this the end of the stream now, people? Or are we still going? We're in 3 hours and 30 minutes. We done yet? We're ready to end this? Or no? Is there something else? End it? Oh, we're seeing some consistency. Yep. Okay, I guess this is the end. I'm seeing consistency in the chat. The ball is in Academic Agent's court, dude. Sargon himself King of England himself intervene on my behalf. So this is on his, it's up to him. It's up to him. Sargon went as far as to step in. So if the king himself is basically trying to pressure him to have me on, then that's pretty much it. And the same goes with Mueller, Rags, and the rest of them. They know. Mueller and Rags, they both know too. All these people, everyone all you listening to this, people go, you need to go here, you need to go there. They've been asked. They've been pressured, they've been told, and I'm still sitting here. I'm still just sitting here. So I gotta put it on them. Bull Moose says, next month I'm giving you a monthly sub. Until then, repeal the 19th one. Thank you, Bull Moose. I appreciate it. Just want to get those numbers back up. Yeah, well, that's the thing. In Academic Agent's defense, and he just said, I congratulated, by the way, in my own defense, I congratulated Academic Agent on having a child. So if anyone asks, I did my due diligence in being polite. So he's probably busy with the little, a newly born child, and I'm sure that's a pain in the ass. I'm not sure what his wife's situation is, or girlfriend / whatever his situation is in that regard, but if she works or has to go back or whatever, it could be fucking nuts. So I'm sure he has plenty to deal with at the moment. You got to give Rags furry porn to get on with a little Bowie? Maybe. Watch a Kano-Saba movie, then invite yourself into EFAP with that as a subject. Well, I guess it is. I'm not really sure. I really don't watch too much EFAP, so I don't really know exactly what they cover. I'm sure there's some kind of video, something that they could cover that I could have, commentary on. All right. Well, let's end the stream. And I have to plow my driveway tomorrow because it snowed. It stopped, so I don't know how much snow there's going to be overnight. Deal with that tomorrow. I was going to work on a video, but I have that to deal with. But in any case, I'll end it here. Thank you for watching, and I will pressure you once again that we need to get these numbers up on my Subscribestar account. And go on over there. There's plenty of other people. There's Styx, there's Sargon, Matt Christensen, V's over there. There's plenty of people over there that you like, that you support, that you may be supporting already. Well, give me a fucking dollar, you cheap, stingy fucking niggers. Sorry. I didn't mean that. I disavow myself. If you can find it in your heart to be charitable as it relates to me, as it relates to my channel, please give me some money. I'm like this poor person right here, a Patreon refugee with cup in hand, and I need some money. And we need to get these numbers back up. So head on over to Subscribestar and support me over there. I'd appreciate it. I know that there have been a bunch of people in chat tonight. Lumberjack is one. Caleb, Baczynski probably, as always. There's been plenty of people in this chat tonight that have been very generous, and I absolutely appreciate all of you. The guy with no name, as always, is giving me super chats and all that. I love you guys. I love your support, but these numbers are too low. These numbers are too low, and it's just $1. It's just $1. Sing $1. So head on over there, get my numbers back up. We need to get these numbers back up, and otherwise, just stand by, and there'll be more videos in the near future, more streams in the near future. Thank you for listening. And a Baczynski last minute stream. This is why you're not invited to streams. People are afraid of random inbox. This Baczynski, you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea how much I think that plays into it. I think that does play into it. I am a loose cannon. I am someone that you cannot predict what I'm going to do. I'm the one that got fucking, if you go all the way back, I'm the guy that got Sargon in trouble on like 3 separate occasions. The one was when the fucking Russian guy killed himself. Oh god, what was the other one? There was another big one. We have to go back like a year or something now to remember. There was another one before that where I got him in trouble. There's been like 3 separate occasions where I've gotten him in trouble with people. But in any case, I am one of the loose cannons on Twitter. I'm one of the people you cannot predict what I'm gonna do. Bull Moose remembers the line. That made it into one of the videos criticizing Sargon, which was me saying, it was fucking Thunderfoot. Thunderfoot's video of me saying, I'd like to praise the shooter as a joke. Oh, man. Oh, man. Good times. Good times. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. Was it Charlottesville? Was it a joke I said about Charlottesville? Was that another time that I got in trouble for? Was that it? I can't remember, dude. I'm blanking on it. All right, let's just leave it there. Apparently that was it. Let's just leave it there. No more super chats. Thank you for the generosity. Lumberjack said Panhandler Louis. That's right. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. This was a very good stream. I very much enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed your support. I hope you enjoyed it. And some of the news we got to, not all the news, but some of the news we got to tonight. And I look forward to doing more in the future. God damn it, Baczynski, stop prolonging this. Well, your loose cannonness is what made Life is Strange fun, to be honest. Yeah, sure. And unfortunately, we got no replacement at the moment. I've been looking around a little bit to see what I can find. And so far, I haven't found anything. But we'll see what we can find, all right? And I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening.